Ladies and gentlemen,
they want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day, and every clue, don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Even 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather, I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double, but nature gets the shit in the way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war.
Alrighty, so we back again. Welcome. It is November 27th, Thursday, 9:44 a.m. Central European Time. That would make it 3:44 in the midnight hour Eastern Standard Time, USA, and that makes it what, 12:34, 12:44, something like that, Arizona time. What's up, everybody? We back at it again, and it's been an interesting 24 hours or 12 hours, even less than that, 8 hours, something like that, when I was live last. And actually, what was it, 5 hours from now? 5 hours ago. And apparently they have found out more about the DC sniper. Now, I don't know how much more they found out. We're about to find out. I mean, but again, you know, from my thoughts, I knew instantly, you know, like Trump says he wants to send in the National Guard to DC. Now, that's the whole thing, right? To make DC safe from DC residents, right? To make DC safe from DC residents. Although we know that's a ploy, we know he just used that to be able to introduce the idea that you can send the National Guard out to do policing against American citizens across the country. I mean, we know that is the case. And but the only thing is that sending the National Guard didn't do that at all, you know. Excuse me, hold on. Yeah, I got a little cold. The weather is changing, y'all, over here. But how is the weather in the US? But in any case, we know that wasn't the case. You don't send out a military group that is not trained to police. That's not a part of the police force, that doesn't have the tools that the police force has. You don't send them out, right? Right. We know that. We know that. Yeah, excuse me. I just had to clear my throat a little bit. But hold on. But we know that. But in this case, the Trump administration, they don't care about the logic not being sound. They care about their goal, and their goal is to suppress the elections coming. So they need the National Guard, they need the military to go around and create a problem that's not even there. Because let's be honest, Trump is creating problems. He's not solving problems. There's nothing comprehensive about it. He hasn't given you names, numbers, things like this, so you can qualify what he's been doing with this ICE, right? But now, as you can see, now it kind of crosses over. So now it's not really an issue for the police or ICE, right? But now he tries to use it as a justification for the National Guard. You see what I mean? So, you know, in a place like DC, you don't need the National Guard, because DC, for people that don't know, already has more, even before the National Guard came there, had more police per square foot than any other place on earth. You know, it already had, you know, and somebody in the chat I see said DC has the highest crime rate, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's bullshit. The crime rate was going down. So you don't, I mean, you know, it's so funny. Another data point is DC had more police per square foot than anywhere else on earth. So what does that tell you? If you have the highest crime rate and you have more police, is it the police doing the crimes? Why would you send more police there if it's police that's doing the crimes? You see what I mean? So that's the thing. Numbers of people doesn't stop this kind of crime. And on top of that, this person is not even a DC resident. So what is the point? It's obviously a political killing. You didn't send the National Guard to Ohio, right? Or to, where was that, where Charlie Kirk got murdered? You didn't send it there to the place where people are born and raised to shoot automatic weapons that kill human beings. No, they put them in the hands at 5 years old, the weapons that are made to kill humans, not deer. You didn't send the National Guard there to stop a crime, right? No. Charlie Kirk's life wasn't important enough to figure that one out. That wasn't important. You send it to DC, the National Guard to DC to stop who? To stop what? Where was it? Where's it? Where's it being stopped? Did it stop the National Guard from getting shot? Nope. Failure, complete and utter failure. So every single police department, federal and local, failed to stop this type of crime. You know why? Because numbers don't stop this type of crime. You see? And on top of it, the person who did it, I mean, if you push people to the brink, you're going to get this. Hold on. Let me do something. 2 seconds. Hold on. 2 seconds. Hey, Bryce Johnson, did you subscribe? Bryce Johnson? I'm just curious. Are you subscribed? Yeah, Bryce, are you from DC? Did you subscribe? Because I see Bryce is, he's got a lot of excuses in the chat. I'm just curious if he subscribed to the channel. Let me see something here. 2 seconds. Do me a favor, subscribe.
To follow this break.
Subscribe, Bryce. Do me that favor. Let me see here. I just want to check something out here. 2 seconds. Yeah, okay, good. Because for a minute, I'm about to put the chat in a second in subscriber mode. But listen, calm down for a second. Take some advice from a person who's a DC resident. Take some advice from a person that's grown up, born and raised in Washington, D.C. Slow your roll, Bryce, for a second. Listen a little bit. Don't be so judgmental from the outside, Bryce. Okay? So let me tell you something. Let me give you a little DC history lesson. Homelessness has existed in the nation's capital since its conception on huge levels. Okay? Crime has existed in Washington, D.C. since its conception. Huge levels, gigantic levels before its conception. You want to know what else existed there? Slavery existed in Washington, D.C. at its conception. You see what I mean? So prostitution, slavery, all types of things that are basically crime. You see? Homelessness that Trump is going after. Trump is going after homeless people. He's going after who else, So D.C. has a background of having the Irish mafia, the Italian mafia, many mafias, crime, homelessness, rampant poverty, rampant across the nation's capital since its conception. When was the National Guard sent there to solve that? Okay, so now today Trump is sent there to solve that, but the person that committed the crime is not even from D.C. The person that committed the crime is not D.C. He already sent the guard to fight crime, and the guard that he sent failed to stop that crime. That's the facts. Okay. Now, given the fact that DC already had more police than any other place on the square foot, should tell you something about the crime in DC. It should tell you, right? It should tell you a little bit of something about it, right? Number two, the fact that crime was already going down with those numbers, right? Largely it being the DC police who are trained to stop crime that was bringing the crime down, right? Now you add Trump sends in the National Guard, and guess what happens? The National Guard couldn't even defend itself from a person that came from the outside of Washington, D.C. and traveled to D.C. Now, did Trump want to send the National Guard to stop Jan 6 rioters? Those people didn't come from D.C. They came from the outside. People from D.C. saw them as invaders of the city, right? Now, people from D.C. had to stand by and watch invaders who plotted to go in and attack the Capitol, who had guns in another state, collaborating, waiting to send in guns to distribute to those attackers, right? That's what actually happened. Did Trump want to send the National Guard out to stop them? No. So you can see what's going on in D.C. is an invention of politics. It's invented. All these things are invented. Homelessness are invented. Crime is invented in D.C. And this crime was invented. You know why this crime was invented? Because our nation, and you can't go back and say, no, I didn't want that. It doesn't have any responsibility, has nothing to do with what you personally want when you're a government official, when you make decisions. It has something to do with being fair in terms of what your government has been doing. Okay. If your government allows private corporations to dump toxic waste near the water supply of a city, it doesn't matter what party you were when you did it. The new party has to recognize that is what has happened for justice to be done. You see? So if the new party or any other party doesn't recognize that original situation actually happened, you can't correct it. You're only making the problem worse. Now, in this case, I said it, this guy is not likely. I said from the beginning, this is likely a political crime, politically motivated. The person likely doesn't come from D.C. because I come from D.C. and I know the local population, not just quantitative, but qualitative, because I grew up there. I know how people think that grow up there. Okay. People who grow up there, They have family members that are likely work for state government, local government, or federal government. Largely, they do not hate the United States of America. They do not attack the United States of America. They don't need more government policing there to solve problems because guess what? That person just crossed the border from one day to the next. Do you know how many Americans? You can't even really sell weapons in D.C., so you're likely bringing your weapon from the outside too. One way or the other, it's not being sold in D.C., that's for sure, right? You might be able to have a license. But you're not buying the gun in D.C. So again, you're going outside and bringing it to D.C. When are you going to solve the problem of people from the outside coming? What about those Jan 6 people? Are they welcome to come back to D.C. again after they committed that violent act? Do you think they should be welcomed? So I think there's a lot to explore, but this guy's talking about they shot Trump again. Oh, really? Is that what that looks like? Does it look like they shot Trump? Well, I tell you what, the reality of it is that you're not doing too well with investigating any crime that happens to Trump. The person that took a shot at Trump, you didn't capture him, you killed him. Jeffrey Epstein, related to Trump, you didn't protect his life so you could find out what was really going on. You let him die under the Trump administration. I mean, it doesn't seem like Trump really wants to know much. It really doesn't, if you ask me. And on top of it, yeah, those Jan 6 people are now ICE. Exactly. They're now ICE. That's who they are. You see what I mean? But just understand this. Yesterday when I said this, I said this is likely a political shooting. I was correct. So click the like button since I was correct. And subscribe since I was correct. That's a fact. It doesn't matter what political party you're a part of or not a part of. I was correct. Let's start there. Secondly, I said the person doesn't come from D.C. because I described the mindset of local Washingtonians. I was correct about that too. So smash the like button about that because I know what the fuck I'm talking about and I'm not just guessing, okay, taking a wild guess, and I'm not being politically biased when I reach my, when I come to my conclusion, right? It doesn't matter who the president is, okay? It shouldn't matter who the president is. The federal government failed to protect the city of Washington, D.C. on Jan 6. That is a fact. There were people collaborating, sending weapons and guns in Virginia, waiting to bring them inside of D.C. that day. That's a fact. This federal government has failed to capture the bomber, the actual individual. You see, this is not about Democrat or Republican. This is about take responsibility when you have the power. Right now, the Trump administration has the power. Did you catch the person who put the bomb on Jan 6 in front of the DNC and the RNC headquarters, the Republican National Convention headquarters, or the Democrat National headquarters in D.C.? No, this administration under Pam Bondi and Kash Patel has failed to capture that individual. Okay. And that individual wanted to kill Republicans and Democrats that day. Okay. So this administration right now is the one responsible for all of this shit, all of the things happening right now and all the things not happening. And one of the things not happening is their plan did not protect any life from that type of shooting. Their plan didn't. ICE don't have shit to do with it. Okay. ICE is not designed to stop this type of crime because they were there and they didn't do a damn thing. Okay. The National Guard is not designed to stop this kind of crime because they were there and they didn't do a damn thing. Yo, what's up, Born? Yeah, what's up? Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, Born. Just to let you know, I'm an actual native Washingtonian here. I know you know this book. I know you know the Cool Disco Dan doc. Yeah, I was up in the Cool Disco Dan doc, but I live outside of the U.S. as a grown ass man. But this book, go get this book. It's called Pump Me Up. It's about subculture in Washington D.C. Some of my shit in some of my homeboys stuff is in this book. Now, back to the D.C. thing. You know, Nobody in DC want these fucking National Guard there, and nobody, and we haven't. But they were sent there just to be able to harass other Americans as a little show of force, so they could start sending out National Guard to other states. Well, they failed. They have failed. They have failed to protect people. They failed to protect their goddamn self. Why do you send yourself to a place where you can't even fucking protect yourself from one person? This person has to travel from Trouble Funk, shit, Junkyard, Northeast Groovers. I grew up with Northeast Groovers. I mean, Junkyard was there, of course, before Northeast Groovers, but goddamn, I grew up on the east side in Northeast and right down the street from the Metro Club. So, you know, I have to roll with Northeast Grooves. I think they were the most prolific of my age, my generation, right? Of the 90s, you know. But enough on that. Check this out. Just check this out. The dude had to come all the way from the other side of the country. He came from the furthest side, traveled all the way to the Capitol. There's a whole lot of failure there. And he came into D.C. and shot your ass. I mean, where do you begin to blame? See, where do you begin? And on top of it, this is the thing. Happy Thanksgiving to the folks that celebrate. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. Most deaf, Don. What's up, Don? Yeah. And on top of it, here's the kicker. The people that Trump let down in Afghanistan when he made that deal to abandon Afghanis that the U.S. had been supplying with weapons that the U.S. had been standing side by side with, fighting against the people the U.S. said were the enemy. They said the Taliban was the enemy. This guy came back to the United States because he was one of the people that left when the government fell, when the U.S. pulled out. And the Taliban overran the government. This is one of the people who came to the United States because it failed. He wasn't here before that. He wanted to stay in his own country. Now, here's the thing. If you don't want your daughter, put a 1 in the chat if you want your daughter to be able to have an education. Maybe you don't have a daughter. Maybe some of y'all don't have a daughter. How about this? Put a 1 in the chat if you want any woman in your family to have the right to have an education. I'm going to do this. Here we go. I'm going to put a 1 in the chat. Can I do that? 2 seconds here. Can I do this? I see something was a little slow. Put a 1 in the chat if you want any woman in your family, right, to have the right to have an education. Put a 1 in the chat. That's what I'm looking for. Your opinion about that right now. If you in the chat. Right, because you want to share your opinion. So let's get down to these opinions. If you want a woman to have the right to vote, to have an education, look at this. So Rini is like, okay, so Rini is just a troll, a Russian troll. You know, this is what I'm saying. 2 seconds, y'all. Let me fix this real quick. I can see there's some, some people don't want to be honest. That's all. You know, it's just simple. Some people don't want to be honest. It's really a game. So they got plenty of debate, but when their ass gets shot, they don't have nothing. You know, they don't have nothing for the they don't have anything for the National Guard members that got shot. They have nothing for anyone to say to stop this cycle of stupidity. You know, they have nothing for it. So let me see something here. I just gotta close up the chat because some of the trolls, you know, that's how they are. They don't want to participate honestly. They want to be dishonest. So let me go in here. Yeah. These motherfuckers, man, I swear, yo. Look at Renee. Nah, I ain't want your fucking opinion. Shut the fuck up and beat it, okay? Get the hell out of here. You think I got time for bullshit? I want reasonable people's opinions. People that want to have a real dialogue, real conversation. I don't want your fake ass here. You nobody. You're not even real. Damn. You know what I'm saying? You're just a troll from some other country trying to create problems. You know? Let me see here. How do I get this off of here? Boom. 2 seconds. I just got to clear something up here. Oh, did it clear? All right, here we go. I'm back now. Yeah, so I just put the chat in subscriber mode. You can subscribe, do something. Also leave a Cash App. Now let me see here. The fact of the matter is that I'm gonna ask this question one more time. If you want any woman in your family to have the right to an education, the right to vote, put a 1 in the chat. If you do not want any woman in your family to have a right to vote or to have an education, the right to an education, put a 2 in the chat. Now, let me just see. Let's see what quality of trolling we got here, because it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, for people that don't know, that's what the Taliban was all about. The Taliban doesn't want women to have the right to vote, and they don't. And they don't want women to have the right to an education in Afghanistan. And they don't today. Now that the U.S. has run out of there, they don't. Okay? So this man is one of the many that worked with the U.S. government and worked with the military. Now, they didn't have a choice but to flee because they were considered enemies. They would be killed. They would be killed. Daughters would be raped. Families would be, destroyed. So they're in the U.S. for humanitarian reasons because they worked with us, our government, our military. Okay, that's why they came back. They weren't just allowed easily to come back. They had to prove who they were. You see what I mean? I mean, just like you want everybody else to prove who they are in the U.S., can you prove who you are? That's what they had to undergo. And now that Trump has come into power, he's just flipped the script and said, hey, fuck y'all. You can be thrown out of the country too. And for no crime, for nothing. And you got to understand, hey, some people going to freak out. How many Americans, after losing their job from the post office, went down and shot up a bunch of people? How many Americans got a divorce and then all of a sudden went to their job and shot up a whole bunch of people because they had access to guns? How many fucking Americans do that every goddamn fucking day? So what do you think nobody else is? What do you think? Who's doing most of the raping in the United States of America? American citizens. Who's doing most of the drug dealing in the United States of America? The American citizens. Who's doing most of the murdering in the United States of America? American citizens. Is ICE designed to do a damn thing about that? What's the National Guard going to do about that? Are they even trained to? No. They're trained to sit around and shut the fuck up and do nothing. They have no training. You can't do anything without training. Okay? They're not trained to do policing. So that was the whole point. So they're there in DC now. I'm not saying this is the reason why the guy did it, but I could put 2 and 2 together. You see what I mean? It sounds like that, just like it sounded to me like this was not a Washingtonian that committed this crime. It sounded to me like this was a politically motivated crime, not connected to the city or the people of the city. It sounded like that. It sounded like somebody came from the outside to Washington, D.C. with a gun, and it's likely exactly that. So where are you going to go? To Washington? Because that's where the person was, Washington State. They don't even come from Washington, D.C. I mean, what you going to do about it? Why didn't they stop the dude? Why are they failing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again? Why is that happening? Why didn't they stop this crime? You see what I mean? So more police in D.C. is not really what's going to do it. Now, if you want to get real about stopping crime, how about we just throw everybody in fucking jail? The entire population of the whole country. Why don't we just throw everybody in fucking prison? That'll stop a lot, right? Won't it stop it? Won't we be able to make sure we stop the crime? I mean, we'll stop a whole lot of people from living their normal people from living their lives too if we do that. But fuck it. To stop the crime, why don't we just lock everybody fucking ass up, including Trump? Then we will have no crime going on, right? I mean, Trump's a felon. I mean, but why should we stop crime if being a felon doesn't stop you from being the president? I mean, what the fuck is that about? Apparently, we don't want to stop all kinds of crime. You know what I mean? Because if you wanted to stop crime, you wouldn't elect a goddamn felon.
News too now.
You know, you're rewarding goddamn felons. I mean, you know, this administration ain't going to do shit about nothing. They're just playing games with people's lives, and you're going to see more people's lives get hurt. That's what you're going to see. Sadly enough, it is what it is, but let's go on with this. Let's see here. Do I have the right one?
In critical condition tonight after what the mayor of D.C. says was a targeted shooting. According to multiple reports, the suspected shooter is an Afghan national. News Nation has not confirmed this. Our team is working on doing that as we speak. Let's go to News Nation correspondent Kelly Meyer live at the scene. Kelly, you were at the White House. You were put on lockdown.
I got to stop engaging the trolls. And look, yo, this is for grown folk, this conversation. Most of my listeners are between the ages of 40 and 70 years old. Seriously. So, you know, I know sometimes my vernacular makes me sound younger than I am. I'm 55 years old. So I'm here for the grown folk conversation. But young folk that want to toy around with this, don't toy around with this. This is not a game. You know, if you live in the United States of America, number one, you're lucky to live in a country that has rights, but you can see your rights being stripped away every goddamn day. You should be very much concerned, and you should be ready to pay attention. Number one, stay the fuck off these disinformation black internet sites that are selling you bullshit about Hillary Clinton drinking baby blood on Epstein Island. Wake the fuck up and do something for your community. Pay attention. Listen to the people around you. Organize for real. Don't go for this because this dark web and this fake ass disinformation internet is what got Trump into office. I mean, people, they're about to sell your future down the tubes, young people. So get it together.
Minutes after the shooting, you're on the scene now. What's the latest?
Yeah, and I want to tell you right off the top that we are just getting that confirmed. Senior.
What's up, Marines? Yeah, one of my homeboys. You know, I can't say names. You know what I mean? But the brother works for the Smith. Works for the damn. What do you call it? One of my homeboys from school. You know, from Sandbox. Works with the damn. What is it called? You know, Capitol Police, blah, blah, blah. Was a Marine also. I mean, most of the you know, so big up and thank you for your service. You know what I mean? But we don't need to lie to each other. You know, we can keep it facts over here. You know, people that join Marines are everyday Americans from all over the country, including D.C., Maryland, Virginia. You know what I'm saying? New York City, Chicago, you know, on and on. Los Angeles, you know what I mean? So, so we should be proud of who we are. You know, our culture also is what helped build the country, you know, so we shouldn't be ashamed of who we are just because somebody has power all of a sudden and wants to dictate everything to us. Fuck dictators. We pay these people salaries and we pay them to enhance our lives, to make our lives better. That is the only reason any congressional member, any senator of any party, any president of any party, any Supreme Court justice of any party is supposed to exist, to protect and make our lives better instead of just, you know, taking our money, you know, using government money because we're the ones that pay them taxpayer money to line their pockets and make their life better. I mean, we got to do something about it. We got to do something about it.
Law enforcement officials, as well as U.S. officials, both telling us that the suspect is an Afghan national and used a handgun. That is the information we are just getting into.
I mean, think about this. He used a handgun. How hard is that? How hard is that in the United States of America? How hard did they make that? You see what I mean? I mean, we have gun laws. We have more of a right to carry a gun than we have a right to health care, than we have a right to a goddamn education. I mean, seriously. Then we have a right to a fair electric bill, utilities, fair housing. You can have your gun. You just can't have health care. You just can't have education. You just can't have reasonable goddamn groceries prices in your store. You can't have none of the other shit, but you can have your gun. I mean, of course. Americans go out and shoot. Look, there was a guy. ICE is not looking for these kind of Americans. Americans are doing all the damn crime. They're the ones doing all the killing. You know what I'm saying? Yo, ICE there was a dude from Georgia. Actually, it's a guy from Marjorie Taylor State. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to pull this back up. He had a beef with a local politician. Both of them are white guys, right? Pardon my French, but both of them are white guys. Ideologically or ethnically, they classify themselves as white Americans, right? They could be something else, but that's what they want to be called, right? That's what they believe they are. They believe they are. They don't believe they're French American, Italian American, Irish American, German American. None of that. They don't believe that. They believe they white American. Okay, just the color. Nothing else. No other connection to the rest of the world or history, right? That's all that matters down there, right? Is that color. This dude, one white guy, had a problem with the local politician. You know what he did? He went up to the dude's job, knocked on the goddamn door, took a barrel of gasoline, poured it on his ass, and lit his ass on fire right inside of the fucking company, and then left. What did ICE do to stop his ass? Where was the National Guard when you needed him? Where was the police? Nowhere. Zero. That you don't even know what happened. I mean, just think about that. There's gasoline everywhere. Who's going to stop that from happening? There's gasoline everywhere. Gasoline's getting expensive. I mean, and the dude still used it. But just to make my point.
Our newsroom and learning per a senior law enforcement official as well as a U.S. official. We are learning that tonight. So we're still waiting for more details on the suspect as well as the latest on those two National Guardsmen that were shot here today. But like you said.
All right. So they know who it is now.
Breaking news just coming in.
Let's speed it up.
Click the like in the last maybe
click the like button if you don't mind.
90 seconds or so. A suspect has now apparently been identified in that shooting of two National Guard troops in D.C. I want to bring in our national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent, Tom Winter. All right, Tom, bring us up to speed.
Yeah, Hallie, 4 senior U.S. law enforcement officials briefed on the investigation say they've identified the man they believe is responsible for shooting of those two National Guardsmen who are now in critical condition. They've identified the individual as Rob Manula Lockenwall. Date of birth is February 9th, 1996. Last known address is...
That reminds me of Key and Peele. I don't know how many people watch Key and Peele and they do these skits on these football athletes, and they have all these crazy ass names. Lockmanhala from Arizona State, crazy ass names like this. But in any case,
Bellingham, Washington.
Respect to anybody with that name. I'm sorry, I'm not making fun. I know it's an ethnic name, and it's I don't know. This is not really a Islamic name. This is a Persian name, right? But respect to all the Persians out there. Though.
Individual was identified through. He did not have an ID on him. We have a photo of him being put into a stretcher, had been stripped of his clothing or had very limited clothing, apparently, at the time of this incident occurring.
Damn, it's cold as hell. He had limited clothing on.
As he targeted these two National Guardsmen, used a handgun to commit it. Apparently, he's an Afghan national. I was still trying to get some details on his immigration history, but they were able to use a kind of a rapid fingerprint type technology that is completely electronic. So take out of your heads kind of the Law and Order version where they put the ink on your fingers and check from there. This is all digital, and we're able to check that against the database and come up with this individual's identification. Having seen a photo that we're still trying to confirm of this person and a photo of this person that was on the stretcher, they do appear to be the same individual. So again, Rob Manula Lockenwall from Bellingham, Washington, an Afghan national born in 1996 is the person that the FBI now believes is responsible for this. And as we've been reporting, and as NBC News was first to report tonight, in fact, the FBI is investigating this initially as a potential act of terrorism. Of course, motives can change in the course of the investigation. They can look into that. But at least initially here, this is going to be led by the Joint Terrorism Task Force in Washington, D.C. And this information is now being shared with law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it terrorism, but look, they got a hard time calling a whole lot of shit terrorism in the U.S. I mean, like really, if you commit a crime, racially motivated crime, political crime, and you're an American citizen, they don't want to call it terrorism. That is very difficult. They rarely want to go that far. But in any case, just look at the timing. It's pretty obvious what this is. This is not. I mean, every time an American shoots another American, bugs out because their wife cheated on them, or, they've been working their ass off and now the company fires them, the post office fires them, and they go shoot up the post office. Is that terrorism? I mean, people are allowed to have, maybe not allowed, they shouldn't be allowed to, but in the United States, guns are proliferated. It's even possible that this dude had the right to have that gun. He probably went in the store and bought that fucking gun. He went in the store and said, "My name is Lakwak Hamanapadak, and can I have a gun?" And they were like, "Well, let's see. Do you have a criminal record?" "Oh, well, you just wait 2 days and you're going to have it, man. No problem. This is Washington State." Likely he got the gun, right? And even if he doesn't, there are states in the United States where it is illegal to not allow someone to have a gun. It's illegal to even check someone's background in some states in the U.S. right now if they want to buy a goddamn gun. So you're going to get plenty of people with fucking guns. Do you understand that? That is exactly what the lawmakers have decided United States citizens should live under. This is something that was decided legally, that he and a whole lot of other people should have access to guns. Now, if a person doesn't have a criminal record, notice how this station, they don't even ask the question, did he have a criminal record? They don't want to ask the question, did he have a criminal record? Because it would show you the absurdity here. This is government created situation, pretty much. It is. I mean, I'm not saying that you should go out there and do this and feel like, that's the right way to handle shit. No, because listen, the National Guard members, if they're in DC, likely they don't want to have shit to do with that. They probably pissed off they were sent to DC. They probably agree with you more than you would, disagree with them, to be honest. And I think that's where the problem is. This is, these guys have families. They just there doing their job. They likely don't want to be stationed in D.C. but have to follow orders because this president has decided that sending more of them there will stop crime. No, it got you shot and killed. That's what it did. Okay, that's all it did. You didn't stop a motherfucking crime. Okay, listen, all criminals, American criminals, okay, if you're an American citizen, you probably know this. American criminals know how to get around American law officials, okay? That's why crime exists in the first place. That's their number one objective, get around crime. And you know what they do? They often hire police, FBI. How many times have you heard that? I mean, there's an FBI agent somebody who was working with the FBI that ended up working with Jay-Z or some shit like this. Right? Being involved in trafficking, Iran-Contra scandal. What was that? Ali North flying in cocaine from goddamn, what country was that? You see what I mean? Trading cocaine for guns, American guns. You see what I'm saying? I mean, this administration is all full of bullshit. They're attacking little boats down in Venezuela, but they couldn't stop this motherfucker from coming from Washington State all the way across the country. They couldn't do anything to hinder that. No law could be created that would hinder that. No one could stop him all the way. You know why? Because it's legal. He probably drove legally across the whole goddamn country. Legally. To shoot and shot the first two motherfuckers in goddamn uniforms he saw. You know what? Just to send a message to say, man, you fucked our lives over. You came to our country. We helped you. Okay? We didn't like the Taliban. We helped you. We want our children to go to school. We agree with you. And then you fucking abandon us. You can call that terrorism if you want, but that means the guy who went into the local post office and was like, you didn't fucking, they fired me, that destroyed my life, and I'm going to go into the post office and shoot up everybody. Is that terrorism now, suddenly? Is that what that is? Okay, I'm cool with that. Is that what it is?
Agencies were told.
Or is it, damn, help a brother get by when something bad happens? I mean, is it that? Is it that? I don't know. What is it when people freak out in the United States and have access to guns? You tell me. But do people freak out ever in their lives? I mean, have you ever had a situation that was so difficult, maybe you lost family members because of something that happened, and the government is just sitting around like, standing around doing the paperwork? We don't know what happened here. Let me write this down. This one got killed and got killed. And that's all you see happening, but you don't ever see any goddamn justice. I mean, there's a lot of Americans like that. I don't see the difference here between them and a lot of goddamn regular Americans, and we're going to review them just so it's on record too, so he doesn't look like the only person shooting people.
Across the country, just given the fact that they want to check up on all these things. Certainly officials here in New York are aware of this information. We're told from officials in D.C. Because they wanted people in the law enforcement agencies here in New York to be aware of who this person was, to see if there's any ties, anybody they need to check, with tomorrow being the 99th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Right now, there is not believed to be any sort of specific or credible threat to that, according to an NYPD.
Okay. Next.
But I just want to start by giving you just a sense of everything we know as of right this moment. According to the D.C. Metro Police, at around 2:15 local time, a suspect came around the corner of 17th Street and I Street, just about 2 blocks from the White House.
I mean, yeah, who is this that said they're walking around without rifles? I mean, you could say that, but you got to understand, they're 1 block from the White House. 1 block from the White House. Excuse me. There's more police in Washington, D.C. before the National Guard was sent there than any other place on earth. Again, more guns can't stop this because the dude likely legally possessed the fucking gun. I mean, the only difference is that he probably couldn't bring it into D.C., but what's stopping you? I mean, there's loads of people, even the January 6 people, had guns waiting in Virginia, waiting to drive them right across the goddamn bridge into D.C. You see what I mean? They knew this. They've arrested those people. You see what I mean? But how do you stop it when it's one person? And that's what's going on all the time. Guns in general are proliferated across the country that way. I mean, guns for criminals, they exist because people that legally buy guns sell them to the criminals. That's how it exists, you know, and they report them stolen. That's happening all over the country. There's loads of states that don't even allow you to track who's buying guns and who's selling guns. There's loads of states that still have laws that prohibit that. There's states that have laws that prohibit you stopping someone or even checking somebody, you know, to even check their record. You know, there's states where you just can't simply stop a person from having a fucking gun. Okay? After they get that gun, they can get any goddamn where. This guy came all the way across the country from one coast to the next coast. And between that, all of that space, there was nothing there to prohibit it. Why? Because you would have to prohibit a lot of other freedoms from a lot of regular everyday Americans if you do that. So that's likely the case.
And witnesses told the Washington Post that they heard 2 or 3 gunshots, followed by a pause, and then more shots.
I mean, look, somebody in the chat is still like, it shouldn't happen anyway. Okay, but what about all the crime across the whole fucking country? Should that happen? What about Appalachia? You know? I mean, what are you talking about? You think, look, let me say it to you like this. People get shot every day, B, in the United States of America. Just make it very clear. People get shot every fucking day in every state in the country. Let's go see where the National Guard ain't. Hold on. I don't know why this is slowing down, but I might have to pull it up on my phone. My internet is a little slow today. Oh, okay. Well, let me just use this one. I think it's opening up. Let's just go see where all the guns is happening, where all the gun violence is happening. And then ask, why are the National Guard not there stopping it? You know, if they were made to stop it, if they exist to stop this kind of crime, then why don't they? Let's see here. I mean, you know, you can't pick and choose with crime. You can't be like, this crime with a gun is the crime I don't like because it's this kind of crime. But the other crime I could live with. I could live with somebody robbing your ass with a gun, but I can't live with somebody, you know, selling drugs with a gun. You know, it's like, look, listen, for people that want to know, the states that have the highest gun crime, right, where the gun crime is going on, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, New Mexico, Alaska, right? And then they say Washington, D.C., which is not a state. So D.C. is below those top states, right? Is the National Guard in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, New Mexico, Alaska? I mean, Alaska has more gun crime. Where's the National Guard? Is it being distributed there? I mean, I'm just saying. Look, other states often appear high also. Tennessee, Arkansas, Montana, Wyoming, Missouri. Should we send the National Guard there to stop gun crimes? You know what I mean? Because one person got shot last night in Tennessee. You know, let me see something. How many gun deaths have happened in each of those states in the last week? You know, I mean, it's ridiculous, you know, this kind of thing. But just for people, maybe some people that don't know, some people don't realize it, right? But let's see here. Damn, is this many deaths? Damn. And all these deaths are not related to terrorism. They ain't related to foreigners. These are fucking Americans. These are Americans, yo. Americans be shooting each other. The Waco, look, the Waco, damn, what was it? The FBI building that got blown up in Oklahoma. That's American. How many people died? Those are Americans. How many kids, mothers, and fathers died? People that live in Oklahoma. I mean, you know, it's really simple. So numbers, if you keep sending out numbers, you know, keep trying to make more police and more police and more police in one area, all you're doing by your own theory is saying that the areas that you don't send police to have crime, you're just not stopping it. Because if you send any more police to Washington, D.C., thinking that it's going to stop crime, you're missing the whole point. You have to be trained to stop crime. Police with guns only end up harassing regular people. That's pretty much what it is. The more police, it just becomes a nuisance. And you know, restaurants in DC are suffering because regular people don't want to go outside because they don't want to be harassed by military people every day when they leave their homes. I mean, you know, it's like that. But listen, there's guns. It says here nationwide monthly, quarterly gun theft totals, all states combined. One source estimate it's close to 4,000 a month. Look, gun deaths just in December, 4,000 nationwide. 4,000 gun deaths nationwide. Nationwide. You see, that's not good. 4,000 gun deaths nationwide. You know, a month. You see what I mean? This was just one death. As I said, people get shot every day in USB.
The D.C. police say the attack appears to have been carried out by a lone gunman who ambushed two members of the West Virginia National Guard while they were patrolling the area. The Guard members then returned fire. Officials are calling it a targeted attack. Now, I should warn you that some of the images we are about to show are quite graphic. So if you would like to look away, I just want to give you
You know, exactly. The population of D.C. is higher, so you're going to have more crime. In urban cities, you're going to have more crime per capita. You're going to have more crime because the amount of people existing in this one state is great. However, that doesn't mean that crime isn't happening per capita more somewhere else where they have less police even. You see what I'm saying? So it just doesn't even work, the math. You have more police in cities than you have in rural areas where crime is in states where crime is far exceeding it. So it doesn't really match up how they use the resources. And you should be concerned about that as an American citizen, if you are an American citizen, because some of y'all are not. But if you are an American citizen and you pay taxes, you should at least be concerned about how they go about doing things to make sure that you're really getting the bang for your buck, that your dollar is being used. Because right now, look at all the places your dollar ain't getting used. Your dollar is not getting used for your health care. Your dollar is not getting used for your education. Your dollar is not getting used for a whole host of things, childcare, shit that regular families, everyday good-hearted Americans, blue-blooded Americans, right, should have the right to have. No, it's getting put on sending billions of dollars to send a National Guard around the country to do what? Nothing. Just stand around just because they happen to be members of a different political party. They're just going to stand around there. That's what they're doing pretty much in D.C., standing around. They tell you, cleaning the mall, standing around the White House. Yeah, that's what it was. If all of that mobilization couldn't stop this one dude, that should tell you. That should tell you all you need to know.
A little bit of a warning right now. Now, as of tonight, the suspected gunman, who has been identified as Rahmanullah Lakhanwal, a 29-year-old Afghan national.
Exactly. Crime was at its lowest in D.C. in something like 20 years, right? Crime was at its lowest, man. And they out there, let me solve this problem. After you done found a way to solve it, when no one else wanted to, you getting it slowly and steadily to decrease year after year after year. Then comes somebody like Trump. I know how to fix it. And look at this. They can't even protect the motherfuckers that they sent out there. I mean, and this is the thing. They shouldn't have to have guns, the National Guard, one block from the Capitol in the place. Now, see, D.C. per person has more police than anywhere else on earth. But just that little tiny ass region around the White House has even more. I mean, it just gets up to extreme, and none of them could stop this. You see, you know why? Because all that motherfucking police is not designed to stop this. All that motherfucking National Guard is not designed to stop a crime like that. Period. Because you and your laws and every other thing that you do create a pathway for a perfect crime like that to be committed. It doesn't have to be a terrorist, or it doesn't have to be an Afghan. It could be any motherfucking body. You have created a lane. The lane existed January 6th when all those same people watched all this mob of people gather in D.C., have folks outside in Virginia with stashes of weapons ready to send it into the crowd. When they failed to stop that, they showed you they can't stop a motherfucking thing and won't, because politics in the United States of America won't allow it to be addressed. It's politics. Republicans are in power right now. They will not address the real issues in the United States of America. And they damn sure won't address this thing. This is damn near Trump's doing, pretty much, if you ask me.
Is in custody. But authorities have still not said anything publicly about a motive, and that can sometimes take some time. We're going to talk to some guests about that in a moment. The suspect was subdued and apprehended by other members of the National Guard, along with law enforcement who were in the vicinity of the attack. And the two men—
But listen, they did better than Trump did, because Epstein is dead. This man lived. A lot of people don't live. The shooter in what is it, Ohio? They killed him. They could have. Oh no, they captured him. I'm sorry, it wasn't him. Who was the guy that got killed? No, the shooter. I'm sorry, in Pennsylvania. They could have captured him. He was a young guy, but they killed him. Right? They killed him. And but he's a young guy. You don't get to talk to him when you kill him. You don't get to find out his motives when you kill him. And so I just think it's really cool that they captured the guy alive, because then you get to talk to him. I mean, and it also shows you that shooting a person is not always the way you stop a crime, the way you solve a crime. You see what I mean? I mean, if he went down there and shot them, what tools did they use to apprehend them? Did they use their arms and their legs and their other police tools, to apprehend the guy? I mean, why didn't they just say, you shot a gun? Oh, my God, let me shoot now. Let me shoot him. That's interesting, because a lot of citizens get shot just riding around in their car when they get stopped by the police. And the police say, my life was threatened. I got to shoot him. And they kill him. That's going on in the United States right now, and that's been a norm in the United States right now. But this guy, he's alive. What does that say about the policing around the country? I mean, he's alive. Hey, y'all, let's celebrate that. The Afghan guy is alive. He's alive. Pretty hard to keep any normal American citizen fucking alive when they encounter the police. I mean, that's fucking hard to do, you know? When they have even just a wallet, look, let me pull out my ID. Oh, here goes my Skittles. You know, it's like very hard.
Members of the National Guard who were tragically shot have been hospitalized and remain in critical condition at this time. A video from the aftermath of the shooting appears to show a team of first responders.
Just look at this. For the reference, watch right here.
A video from the aftermath of the shooting.
Look at that. This would be a guy in most states. ICE would be just stopping right here automatically. Stop him. ID him. Who is he? Stop him. Habla inglés. You know, they would stop him right here. That's who ICE is stopping. Just a motherfucker just who looks Spanish. That's who ICE was following when this other guy walked his ass into DC and shot their ass. You know, this dude is probably delivering some food. I don't know. I'm not trying to disparage him or anything like that. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's a security officer. I don't know. Maybe he's working with the feds. Who knows? Maybe he's undercover, right? But I'm just talking about in terms of ICE. They spend a lot of times on people and how they look. ICE. You see what I mean? And what's incredible is that they spend all of that time on how somebody looks, and this guy could travel all the way across the country. You know what I mean? Into DC. I mean, I just think it's worth noting how they don't really have a comprehensive hold. They don't have a comprehensive plan. Their plan for people that are in the U.S. is just willy-nilly, just as it goes along. No, nothing's going to get better because there's no real plan to make it better. It's just they're going to throw a bunch of money at a target and say, oh, well, that'll do it. You throw 100 more people on the job when 100 people don't know what to do. That's what that deployment was to DC, you know.
Appears to show a team of first responders doing chest compressions on one of those National Guard members. While
I guarantee you, ICE probably stopped him about 10 times in DC and shit, you know.
Another team member cares for the other. And just to show you just how close this shooting was to the heart of DC, again, just blocks from.
You see, exactly, right there. This is one goddamn block. Anybody that knows, this is the most. You have more guns, more police in this area than anywhere else on earth. Before the National Guard was sent there. Now the National Guard is there and ICE is there and you have even more. What does that tell you? I mean, just be honest. It's okay with looking in the mirror. You see what I mean? Because not looking in the mirror is going to cost you a whole lot of money and a whole lot of death and a whole lot of time. You see, You see this? It's one block. Look at this. It's basically just on the other side of the park. It's on the other side of this park here, Farragut Park. You see? So, you know, but it's the law, y'all. It's the law. You know, you can, you could have as many police as you want. You will never really be able to control what type of guns come into DC. You will not be able to. And why is that? Because guns are sold all over the country outside of DC. I don't even think you can buy. Y'all, you guys in DC, right? Can you even buy a gun in DC? I don't even think you can even buy a gun anymore. You didn't used to be able to have a license at all to have a handgun in DC, right? You used to be able to have a shotgun in your home and that's it, right? Now, now they've changed that. The gun right advocates, people changed it to you can have a handgun. But I don't believe you can even buy a gun in DC. Let me check that. Can you purchase? I don't think you can have one in DC. You know, they don't sell them. So all the gun crime that you hold on, here we go. Under strict rules, you can legally purchase, but that says purchase, but only if you follow the local registration and licensing. But where can you buy it? DC allows the registration of rifles, shotgun, revolvers, and some handguns subject to eligibility. Now let me see here. But it doesn't say, okay, you must buy from a licensed dealer. Okay. How many dealers are located? Hold on. Are located in DC. Let me see here. How many dealers are? I don't think there's any dealers. I think that's the catch, you know. It's quite low. Okay, so there are one. DC has about 0.9 licensed gun dealers per 100,000 residents. Okay, that works out. So where the hell are they? Historically? Okay, well, damn, name them. What the hell? Give me their address. Even though we know this guy doesn't come from DC, so let's see here. A partial list. Look at this. You see? Look, I can give you a partial list, but some dealers licensed to do firearms transfers in Washington, D.C., often via federal firearms license, FFL. The full public list may change and can be obtained via agency catalog maintained by the Police Department. Here are some known licensed dealers and their address in D.C. Okay, so there's a licensed dealer on 1413 K Street. Look, there's a licensed dealer right around the corner from this place, 3 blocks from where the shooting happened, yo. I mean, okay, look at this. 1317 F Street, that's not that far from here either. I mean, DC's a small city, number one. So you got to remember, any address is basically 10 minutes away from this location. You see what I mean? By car, you know? So in the right time of day, that is, you know what I'm saying? You can get around DC relatively fast. So damn, they have some, okay, they got a little more than that. Look, listen, the last time I checked, they didn't have any, you know what I'm saying? So, but in any case, now let me see something. Can you legally take your gun from Washington State to DC or from any other state? Let's see here. I just want to make sure about this and then get back to the news here. Good question. Okay, it says whether it's legal depends. When it may be legal under strict conditions. Okay, so it's not really legal to drive your gun all the way over here, number one, right? Under federal laws, Firearm Owners Protection Act 18 USC, and this is for a lot of people will tell you, you know, you have trolls, and a lot of trolls will tell you it's protected by the Constitution. Yeah, okay, whatever. You better know what laws you following before you end up in jail, you know, but or losing or paying high taxes or, you know, losing your health care. You know what I'm saying? Know what you talk about before you lose your health care, okay? Or lose your SNAP, you know? Be aware of the law first. Okay. A person who is legally allowed to possess a firearm can transport it across state lines for lawful purposes, including travel, provided the firearm is unloaded and neither the firearm nor ammunition is readily accessible. So you see? What the fuck? You can drive this shit. Look, it's readily accessible or directly accessible from a passenger area of the vehicle, locked in a trunk or locked in a container. There you have it. So he could drive his gun. If he bought that gun legally, he had every legal right to drive that gun all the way from Washington State to Washington, D.C. So far. Now, let's find out. In D.C., additional rules apply under D.C. Code 224502.02. A person may transport a firearm only if they are not otherwise prohibited from having it, right? So you need a license. They are traveling or some other reason. They are traveling from place to place where the firearm is lawfully possessed to another place where possession is unlawful. So really, it was lawful up until the time he loaded that motherfucking gun and shot somebody. I mean, that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like to me so far. They followed the safe transportation rules. Yeah, did he? He likely followed the safe transportation rules. I mean, why not, right? It will allow you to transport the weapon to the place, to the scene of the crime. You know, I mean, shit, why not? If you want to kill somebody, why not follow the rules, right? They follow the safe transportation rules for a vehicle. That means firearms must be unloaded. Yeah, because why do you need it loaded until you get to the scene of the crime? You don't need it loaded. And firearm plus ammunition must be stored so they are not directly accessible. I don't have no problem with that. You can easily make it accessible before you commit the crime. That only takes, 2 minutes? Trunk or lock container. This sounds like a drive-by. You motherfuckers just show up, go to the trunk, and pull out some shit. All right, anyway, what you cannot do, okay, that makes it. If a firearm is not registered for a handgun or other firearms that requires registration under D.C. law. Okay, so it has to be registered. You cannot legally possess a gun in D.C. Without it being registered. D.C. requires guns to be registered for possession. Okay, right. Okay. Even if transported legally under federal law, bringing a firearm into D.C. with the intent to possess it or use it, there generally requires compliance with D.C. registration and carry laws. So once you get in D.C., you're supposed to register it, right? D.C. is what? How many square miles? How many miles is D.C.? I mean, you got time to do that? What if you're driving through D.C. and it only takes you a half an hour? You're only going to be there half an hour. What you going to do? Register your weapon? I mean, I don't even think it applies. I think if you're driving through D.C., I don't think you might. There's been other people that have been stopped like this, and they were like, nope, no. And think about this aspect of it. Legally, if you get stopped, if there wasn't a reasonable suspicion that you committed a crime or engaged in a crime, you can't even legally be stopped. And even if they find a gun, that will get thrown out of court. You know, if that's all that's happening, that will get thrown out because you have to explain why you stopped the individual, of course. Right. And I'm not saying that should be, removed, but just as far as the legalities here. Otherwise, simply having a gun in D.C., even unloaded, may be illegal. Okay, let's see here. So, yeah, just possessing it, hanging around in D.C., anything more than passing through, it would be considered a crime at that point, it looks like, if you don't register it with the D.C. authorities. Okay, it says here, ammunition is also regulated, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so listen, what law would approve? Okay, let's see here. Shot the, Okay, that's my last question. Now, I'm just going to go back over here. I just want to know if that gun was registered. Let's see here.
From the White.
So this is the location. So you can see it's 1 block away, y'all. Do me a favor, click the like button if you can. That helps more people see the stream. So this is DC. This is the map. Let me make it a little bigger. Boom. So people can even see better how close it is. I mean, this is how damn close it is. It's just 1 block, 2 blocks from the White House. 2 blocks. Yeah, just 2 blocks. Now, yeah, to me, this is just ridiculous. But in any case, growing up in Washington, D.C., myself, I know there is no way you can stop this type of crime. This type of crime is a crime that exists because you have guns everywhere and you have the right to have guns. And plenty of criminals, people that commit crimes, possess legal weapons up until the time the crime is committed. You know what I mean? It's just that fucking way. You know what I'm saying? You can't plan when someone loses their motherfucking mind and decides to bust off. I mean, you can't plan it. You can't plan when somebody has a bad day or when their wife cheats on them and they have mental illness, they just go snap. You can't plan that. You can't plan when somebody loses their job at the post office and is struggling, has a mortgage to pay, family depends on it, and all of a sudden they lose their job and snap. You can't plan that. But listen, you have the right to a gun more than you have a right to education, more than you have a right to health care in the United States of America. So what happens is that you're going to get more people committing crimes with guns than you have people getting help in the fucking hospital or getting a goddamn education. That's what it's going to turn out to be. The odds are against education. The odds are against your health, you getting health care, and the odds are in favor of you actually shooting a motherfucker. Like, that's, the odds are way in your favor to get that accomplished in the United. It's almost set up so you can do it. The gun law. It's not set up so you can get a heart transplant in the hospital without losing your house. It's not set up so you can afford an education because you have the grades. No, it's not set up that way in the U.S. It's set up for this kind of shit. So, you know, that's how I see it.
White House. One of those National Guard members was taken in an ambulance and transported to the National Mall.
And look, this is a state. The state is paying for this. This is DC's taxpayer dollars to pay for that ambulance. This is not a federal ambulance right here. It looks like this is DC. DC taxpayers got to pay for this.
Where they were then medevaced to a trauma center. All of this unfolded.
Kudos to DC taxpayers, y'all. Kudos to y'all. 202, what's up?
So close to the White House that it briefly placed a lockdown on the whole area, along with the Treasury Department next door. President Trump was not at the...
Anyway, this is just almost ridiculous. Hopefully they got some news about who to do this.
My colleague Priyanka Deo joins us with the latest details at this point. Priyanka, it's now confirmed that...
Hold on. Let me see. What is this? What news network is this? This is, what news network is this? This is NDTV.
The suspect is a 29-year-old Afghan national who entered the U.S. in 2021 as part of a Biden-era program.
Yeah, it was carried out. He was 29 years old, Afghan national Ramanullah Lakhanwal. It's a very vivid example of what experts have warned about since 2021. And this is across the board. It's not really a Democrat-Republican issue. The Biden administration's mass admissions of Afghan evacuees were rushed. They were weakly vetted. They were structurally flawed. Approximately 80,000 people came in after the fall of Kabul. So,
yeah, so that's the fall of Kabul. So, you know, you can say, like, you can do this. You can say, let's approach an issue like this. Every time the issue is in your face, that's the first time you think about it. You could approach it that way, or you could approach issues down the line. Think 1 and 2 steps down the line. Now, you go into Afghanistan, right? Just like you go into any country, you're about to go into Venezuela. Think about this, because this overlaps this logic. You want to go into Venezuela? Well, think about people that have to flee Venezuela when there's nothing there, when they don't have a government. Are you going to be responsible for the government once you take out the current government? Are you willing to be responsible? Look at you see how a lot of these people that support the invasion of Venezuela, how on this end they're totally against it all of a sudden. We shouldn't have been in Afghanistan. We shouldn't have been there at all. But yet those same people are about to go and invade Venezuela for something they can't even substantiate. Really, you know, they have not brought 1 kilo of cocaine before the American people in one court, and they're blowing up ships. Now, you know, just disintegrating them. Now, this guy, Biden, he didn't plan the withdrawal of American troops. It wasn't his plan. It was Trump's plan. Trump is the one that signed the agreement for the United States military to withdraw from Afghanistan, to turn it over completely to the Afghan government, who, by the way, was less armed and outnumbered than Basically, the Taliban had more numbers and more guns when Trump made that deal. So in theory, the Trump administration was asking for Afghanistan to hold up a high standard. Now, keep in mind, the government that was there, it was legal for girls to go to school, women to go to school and get an education, and legal for women to have a job. Now it's illegal. So there's 2 different groups there. There's one that grew up with it that have a totally different standard and view of life than the others. Now, what happened when the U.S. military withdrew after all the lives fought? What they did was turn over the country back to the people they were fighting in the first place. That's what they did. And a lot of these people that stood side by side with U.S. military, worked with the U.S. government, were abandoned through Trump's actions and would be killed or oppressed in Afghanistan. So the Biden administration, for humanitarian, just for reasons of being fair, said, you know what? We recognize these issues. People are begging us. People are saying, oh, no. And he let people in, just like you let people in from Ukraine, just like you let people in from a lot of areas in the world. You know what I mean? Now, Republicans can say that that was a bad practice, but who made the deal to withdraw? You know, who maybe if you didn't withdraw, it wouldn't be these 80,000 Afghanistan people in the United States or in other countries if you didn't withdraw. Maybe that's an argument to have, right? But let's listen. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure where this news network is from, so you never know.
If he entered during this time, then this incident directly touches the humanitarian parole program, which is what they called it, under which these 80,000 Afghans were brought in with incomplete documentation, incomplete identities, and in many cases, no verifiable records at all because the Afghan state had collapsed. So
exactly, because the state had collapsed. So
multiple inspector general reports later confirmed what insiders already knew here, that biometric checks were rushed, screening was abbreviated, and thousands were admitted before full security clearance. So that was the price of speed. But the bigger flaw was what happened after arrival, or rather what didn't happen. So following up this vetting, secondary interviews, rescreening, and long-term monitoring were supposed to continue as the files were verified. Instead, the system lost track of many of these evacuees entirely. So the U.S. never fully confirmed many identities, never validated the missing documents, never created uniform oversight mechanisms. And now you have a man who carried out an ambush-style attack on a National Guard troop just blocks outside the White House, raising the exact question that Americans have been quietly asking for years, that who exactly entered this country under the Biden.
But the problem is that, you know, you assume? How can you assume to know? I mean, if you don't ID him, that's one thing. You don't know who he is. You don't have the full identity of who he is. Why don't you? Because this was rushed. The evacuation was rushed, and the fall of the Capitol was also just overnight from one day to the next. So you have that issue. Does that mean the person's a criminal? Does that mean the person was already a criminal before they came to the United? Is that what that is, or do they not know that? They don't. It doesn't sound like they know if the person was a criminal or not outside of this one event. Just like the person who shot Charlie Kirk, was he a criminal before this moment? No. How come they couldn't see that coming and stop that one? You see what I mean? I mean, so to me, it sounds like people will try to make this a Biden issue or a political party issue. It might be a political issue, but political in terms of party, I think that would be poorly, that's a poor way to see it, because we take in people all across the world because we're involved in their countries on the ground, boots on the ground, in conflicts. That's just a fact, and you will get that in every administration. And if Trump takes his ass into Venezuela, you will get more Venezuelan people also. You see what I mean? You will get them. You may not get them right immediately under Trump's administration, but you will get them as soon as he's out, because the United States wants to do business with the world. The United States wants to be seen as a country that treats people fairly and respects humanitarian issues as well. You see what I mean? And a lot of these humanitarian issues come from fucking war. Do you want Palestinians in the United States of America? Well, if you want more Palestinians, just tell Israeli to keep bombing their ass, and you will get more Palestinians in the United States of America. Do you want more? Do you want more Iranians in the United States of America? Keep on bombing their ass and find out. That's basically how you get them. You know, by the way, in case you don't know, you want more Jews? Then let Jews be killed. You want more Ukrainians? Then let Ukrainians fucking be killed. Okay, you want more Muslims? Let more Muslims be fucking. I mean, this is what is behind it. You see? So, I'm just saying, bringing a person to your country, that may not be where the crime is. You see? This guy could have flipped from one day to the next because Trump just said, fuck you and your family and everybody like you. You can be deported back to the place where they will fucking kill you and you have nothing else to live for. This could be one of those acts. How do you plan for an act like that? How do you stop an act like that? What law do you pass in the United States of America? You couldn't stop the white American post office employee who got fired from going to the post office and shooting up everybody. You couldn't stop that. How do you stop this if you can't stop that? That's all I'm saying. It doesn't sound like it's going to get stopped, to be honest with you. And any law that they just throw up there to distract you, like, yeah, the anti-shoot up to National Guard member on the mall bill, that's going to be full of bullshit too, okay? It's like, if it don't work, it don't work. You could call it whatever the fuck you want. Just like they came up with this no socialism bill, fast as hell. They didn't come up with a no fascism bill fast as hell. But in any case, they mean the same thing. But look, that's what they mean pretty much. It's just bullshit. Look, they have the no socialism bill and you read it, all it has something to do with is fascist governments. Nothing about socialism. nothing about healthcare. See, when they don't want you to have health care, they start calling EU nations socialists. But then when they want to pass a bill, they don't mention one of those nations. They just talk about Mao and USSR. They talk Vietnam. They talked about everybody else. Nothing to do with nobody going to school and being paid in the EU. Nothing to do with everybody having universal health care in the EU. You see? So ain't nothing going on here. Ain't
rushed evacuation.
Not even the rent is going on here. This is all just, to me, a lot of blah, 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 more of the same. This administration doesn't know what the fuck it's doing in terms of goddamn Mexican immigrants. How is it going to know something about this? I mean, you know what I mean? They don't know what they're doing. They don't even know who the people are of Central America, fellow Americans. They can't even, they don't even know who the fuck Native Americans are. This administration, you know what I'm saying? They can't tell the difference between a woman that has no criminal record that is cleaning your toilet. They can't tell the difference between her and an axe murderer. That's what's going on right now in the United States. They're deporting people that clean toilets, a job that no one else wants to do. They can't tell the difference between a fruit picker and an axe murderer. They can't tell the difference because they're deporting fruit pickers. And how many of them are axe murderers? Very few. What are they going to do about that? They're going to write a bill? I don't know. But in any case, let's listen to this dumbass here, Trump. Mr. Humpty Dumpty. Let's listen to him. Mr. Humpty Dumpty.
Just steps away from the White House. They'd been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and
do me a favor. Click the like button, y'all.
National security mission in the history of our nation's capital. The D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those two members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about.
So look, you have two convicted sex traffickers, right? In the United States right now. Can y'all hear me? Yeah. Now, the Tate brothers, right? Now, this guy, they're not American citizens, right? The Tate brothers. They're involved in sex trafficking in Eastern Europe. Russia, etc. Right now, Trump went in there to assist them to allow these sex traffickers come into the United States. He's not rejecting them. He's not saying get the fuck out of the United States. Right? He doesn't have a problem with that. You see what I mean? But already they have not investigated this crime that happened yesterday or in the last 24 hours. They haven't investigated it fully. And listen to Trump's words. They don't really know. I mean, I can guess his motive. I can guess. You see what I mean? But Trump is claiming to know his motive. He's claiming to know already what his motive was. You see what I mean? And it just is another example of how unserious this administration is. Because even I would know if I was a government official, I wouldn't go out and say what I think it is. Right? You don't do that. You wait for the investigation to be finished. Then you speak on it. But Trump claims to already know this is an attack on America. You know, what if you find out all of a sudden the National Guard dude raped his sister? What if you find that out? What if you find out the National Guard member, shot his daddy? You know what I'm saying? What if you find that out? I mean, there's still things to find out. But if you want to claim to know, you got to at least wait for the investigation to go 24 hours until the person that you arrest speaks. And I'm sure he's going to say it. And let's be honest with you. If he came out of his mouth and said, hey, man, we fought side by side with you against the Taliban. We fought with you because we wanted to make our country free and safe from terrorism and terrorists, right? And we believed in you. We thought you had our back. That's why we stood side by side with you, because we understood terrorism is bad. But after you abandoned us in Afghanistan and we were overthrown, we had no choice but to leave because they will kill our mothers, sisters, me, period, our whole families. I didn't have a choice. I come back. I go to the United States of America, a new place I don't even want to be in. I'm only there because I will be killed and my entire family will be killed in Afghanistan because your government abandoned me from one day to the next because the best friend of Jeffrey Epstein decides that, let's just get the troops out from one day to the next. Doesn't plan how. Just signs a deal with the Taliban, the person the U.S. military was fighting and service people died fighting them. This motherfucker goes makes a deal with them, the people that killed our goddamn service people. OK, to me, if he comes out of his mouth and says these words that I'm saying, right, no MAGA person would give a fuck. No person that supports Trump would give a fuck because they don't give a fuck about any type of fucking fairness, not just with Afghanistan's, but with their own fucking American citizens, their own American counterparts. They don't give a fuck about fairness. You see? So, I mean, Trump can say all the shit he wants, but this administration and the people that back this administration are going to have a serious problem when the question of how fair should you be treated is tossed at them. When the question comes up, how fair should we treat these people? Well, let's examine how fairly they treated everybody else. They treated the Afghani people like shit. They just had no choice but to run. They treated these ones like shit. They treated the Puerto Rican Americans like shit. They treated all Hispanics like shit. They treating black people like shit. They treating women like shit. They're treating mothers like shit. And then you say, well, how do they treat fellow Americans whose families have died for this country, whose families have fought for this country, generation after generation after generation? How do they treat them? And the answer is like shit. So and people are going to remember it. People are going to remember it. You can't get away from it. What is this?
Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden.
I can barely even see his little ass head. Let's bring it up here. Let me make it bigger for y'all so y'all can really peep the game. Check this out. Click the like button, y'all. I appreciate it. Here we go.
A disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation.
So now this is the single one. Before it was the, before it was the Mexicans coming across the border picking fruit and shit. Now it's the, now this is the biggest one. This one dude, is this the biggest one? Is this the biggest one? It's going to be the Venezuelans. When is it? It's always the biggest one to him. The excuse for shooting boats, fishermen boats, little ass crafts that you don't smuggle 1,000 tons of cocaine with, which is what they really sending, and not Venezuela, but anybody that's moving cocaine is sending thousands of tons at a time. This dude, this dude is shooting little ass boats. That just happen to be out there in the sea somewhere. He don't even know where the fuck they going. The
last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world.
The last administration, who let his wife in? And listen, Caroline Levitt's own brother married to a Brazilian. She's a foreigner. She's just getting in the process of being deported now. Who did that? Who let her in? They feel like there's something wrong with her being there, the mother of this child, because she's a Brazilian national, married to Caroline Levitt's, or married or had a child with Caroline Levitt's brother. They're kicking her out right now because why? What's the reasoning behind that? They're kicking her out because what? She's a threat to the country? Is that it? Is she one of these? I mean, listen to the dude's rhetoric.
World from places that
it's just immigration is the problem. Immigration.
Don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival.
Shit. Now healthcare is a risk to your very survival. Not being able to afford the electricity bill is a risk to your survival in wintertime, Trump. You ever thought of that? People are going to freeze. Old people are going to freeze in their goddamn houses. Like straight up. Old people. Okay. They're going to die because they're going to freeze and they can't get fucking access to any health care. That's not helping somebody. That's not helping anybody's safety. People walking around coughing and you can't go to a doctor to find out what the fuck it is before you spread it to your neighbor. That's not helping nobody. You see what I mean? And this guy finds a way for one frustrated person. Probably, I'm just saying, the Afghan guy was probably frustrated. If he was, I can understand it. I'm just saying, dude, you shot the wrong people. Those National Guard don't have nothing to do with it, if that was what you meant, I'm just saying.
An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost and gangs of Somalians.
What? He just flipped. Listen. He just mixed it up now. He's mixed it up. One Afghani guy is every foreigner. Could you even call these people foreigners anymore? Every immigrant is one Afghani guy, except his wife. She can't be in the pile with the immigrants, with the bad policies and bringing in the whores from Eastern Europe. You know what I'm saying? Bringing in the prostitutes from Eastern Europe. She ain't got nothing to do with that, huh? She wasn't imported by Jeffrey Epstein, to his cooperation. She wasn't part of that model transporting system, where they, yeah. It looks like it to me, if you ask me, but damn. She damn sure ain't no Einstein. But Trump is now just pivoted over to Somalis, like Somalis and Afghans. Like, what the fuck do they have to do with each other? What are they? Just two total different parts of the world and shit. One Asian, one is in Asia, the other's in Africa. Shit. Then he's got Venezuelans. What is he going? He can't call them Muslims, so they're cocaine dealers now. All of a sudden, this shit. With the Mexicans, what were they? So there are damn. So fuck it. Leave all of them out of it. Who are the Canadians? The Canadians destroying the United States of America too? Is that it? We gotta. Yes. If you ask Trump, yeah, man. You gotta stop you have to treat the Canadians like shit. They are the problem with the U.S. Really. Nobody is good enough for this guy. No matter what you do, you come to the United States of America, You follow the law. You work hard. You pay taxes. Anything. None of you people matter to this guy. You are going to be the paper child for everything that is wrong with the country. So Elon Musk walking into the Treasury Department, he's not the poster child. Epstein and Trump, they're not the poster childs for what's wrong in the United States and all, for the economy, even though you're paying more for everything. You see what I mean? He's not the the poster child for the inflation, for the prices going up on goods. No. It's the Somali. It's the one Afghan, from the one Afghan to all the Somalis in Minnesota. It's like, big up to the Somalis in Minnesota, by the way. It's like this guy, he just fucking, who is he after next? Who else is it the women? It's the DEI women. It's the woke women that's next. Yeah, it is them. He started with the woke women. It's
come from a country.
Everybody's an enemy.
That doesn't even have a government, no laws.
He's describing countries like he described American cities.
No water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kinds.
Somebody said, bro, you're a piece of shit. Don't talk about Melania, the communist bloc. Man, fuck Melania, okay? She probably was a prostitute, to be honest with you. She was probably a hoe, like, to be honest. Like, really, to be honest with you. I'm not saying everybody would be, but she seems like she likely was. That's all I'm saying. And Trump apparently is involved. He likes that. He likes being around people that traffic women, little girls and all, and adult women, like, straight up. So looks like it.
Assaults on law, and
she was on Epstein Island.
In order by people,
or she was in Marla. She was in Epstein's crib in Florida. She knows who Epstein is. She was hanging out with Ghislaine Maxwell, a felon, a convicted sex trafficker in jail. I mean, she hangs out with fucking criminals.
People who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien.
Exactly. Lolita Express mail order bride. It looks like it. She don't look like no Queen Elizabeth. She don't look like no Mother Mary and shit, with her hair covered up. She doesn't look like a woman who is concerned with purity. I'll put it to you that way, at all. That's all I'm saying. Not saying you have to be. Not saying that is for you, but she don't remind me of a Christian woman. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got.
Who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden. And we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not.
Okay, so look, he said, if you don't love our country, we don't want them, right? Okay, so is migrating to the United States of America to make billions of dollars, does that equal love the United States of America? Put a 1 in the chat if moving to the country and making $1 billion equals I love this country. Put a 1 in the chat if that's what it equals to you. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that's bullshit. That idea that just because you came to the country and you're making $1 billion and you live here now means you love the United States of America. I mean, is that the kind of love you want? I mean, do you want someone just loving the country because they can make money in it and not loving the country because of the people or the culture or the history? Right? Yeah. I'm just curious about that because, he defines it that way. Me, myself, I think a lot of these people hate the fucking United States that Trump is dealing with.
Be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city.
Facts. Remember the middle class. Yeah. Let me see this. Janice said, "Oh, you're okay if you're a male owner of if you're a billionaire, if you're a male, and then these days your buddy." Exactly. I mean, that's how they see it. Everybody else is up for grabs. Everyone else is up for grabs. Under this administration, let's be clear, and under this Republican Party's governance, whether you're talking about Congress or the Senate, all of them together, and the Supreme Court, the Republicans in the Supreme Court, under their governance, under their rule, women that get raped in some states in the United States of America now have to have the baby of their rapist. That's what these evil ass people have introduced. Okay, that's sick. But of course, they don't give a fuck. Now, also, because of this Republican Party, women can die. Literally, more women are dying giving birth, right? Because they're not allowed to have an abortion to a fetus that is actually killing them, emitting chemicals, slowly dying. See, as long as the heartbeat is pumping, they consider that alive. But if it's slowly dying pumping, they don't consider that a problem for the woman. And women will die on the inside of the hospital or at home. They will die simply because they can't have an abortion. You see, now that's what this party has brought into effect. You see, and they brought that to effect on American women, American citizens. So they already show you their relationship to having some sort of empathy for people's lives, American citizens' lives, American women, and what it is to be a woman in the United States, or what it is to be a woman in the world these days, right? There's no connection to that, this party. They have none.
We will make America.
So what does that tell you about their connection to everybody else?
America totally safe again. And we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that.
You see? So it's like, yeah. Well, if he dies, you don't get to hear his words. You don't get to know his motive. You only get to guess. You only get to wait for Kash Patel to tell you why he did it. You see what I mean? Yeah. But in any case, why couldn't all of this been averted? And does it mean that the National Guard and all the policing, the place on earth that has more police than anywhere else on earth before the National Guard showed up, does it mean that they are ill, that the problem is not more police? Does it mean that you can't really stop crime with more police? Is that what we're seeing here? If you ask me, that's exactly what we're seeing. And that's exactly what blue states have been saying the whole time. More police doesn't stop crime. More schools, more access to education, more access to equal housing, more access to health care is what stops crime. You see, but that's not what Republicans think. Republicans think you're born with a gene that makes you a criminal.
Time of the year when we gather at home with loved ones. These two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is exactly what they were doing when they...
This guy, he's almost done. His rambling is just... It is sad we have to listen to a retarded man, to a dude who's fading mentally, dude that's got dementia. We have to listen to him give 15-minute fucking speeches. It's like, damn.
They were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today.
For not stopping a shooter from killing two National Guard members. I want to thank you. Basically it. You know what I mean? It's stopping, going out and finding out who did the crime is great, but stopping it before it happens is better, right? And also stopping crime in a comprehensive manner, not just saying more police, we need more police, standing on the corner, more police. People need to stay in their homes. Home arrest shouldn't be the solution for stopping crime. You see? Yeah.
This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them.
Yeah, I mean, my hearts go out to the servicemen members that lost their lives. I'm not anti them. I'm pro. I understand they don't have really anything to do with it. I think any more than a lot of shooting victims have to do with stuff. You know what I mean? A lot of people that get shot. And listen, Charlie Kirk, he was like, it's the price. Charlie Kirk said it's the price for having guns in America. That's what Charlie Kirk would say a crime like this is. I mean, indeed, these two guys probably likely have nothing to do with the person that shot them or anything to do with any policy. You see what I mean? They're just work for the National Guard and were told to go to D.C. and stand on that corner. Just be there in the place that already have more police than anywhere else on earth. In the specific area where there's more police than anywhere else on earth. They were told to go there and stand around. And it turns out that somebody had a gun and came to D.C. and shot their ass. And that was the point, you know. And I just think it's really, really sad that we can't do something about these other dynamics. You know, human beings do have issues with mental illness, you know, bouts of mental illness. Maybe you're not diagnosed. You don't have to be diagnosed, but any healthy person is going to, through certain circumstances, if you lose your home, lose a child, lose a family member, are faced with insurmountable odds, that is when usually these mental crises come into effect. You see what I mean? And any American is bound to do what that individual did. I'm not making excuses for it. I'm just saying you see it a lot. You see it a lot when it comes to gun crime in the United States of America. People, I mean, look, you saw a kid go to a school and shoot up a bunch of people because things that he read, he just got fed up politically. I mean, you know, look at what happened to Trump. Did the guy have an illegal weapon that tried to kill Trump? Was his weapon illegal? How did he get that weapon? You see what I'm saying? How did the guy who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, how did he get a weapon? How do you solve that problem? Is that a solvable problem with this approach that Trump suggests? You know, I mean, I don't think it is. I think it's just bullshit talk. And I don't think it works. I don't think it works at all. It's just more talk. I think Trump is probably trying to get out there ahead of the damage because he knows how ridiculous it looks that you send National Guard people to D.C. to make it safe. You declare to the world that it has now been scupped of all crime. And then 2 National Guard members get shot by somebody who came from the other side of the country with a gun, probably likely a legal handgun.
President Trump was not at the White House at the time, having left D.C. Last night, actually, to spend the Thanksgiving holiday at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. And likewise, Vice President J.D. Vance was outside D.C. at the time of the shooting as well. Now, in response to today's attack, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced that President Trump has ordered another 500 Guard members into D.C.
This happened just steps away from the White House.
What the fuck?
Will not stand.
See?
And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful.
Now, those 500 new National Guard members would come on top of the already 2,188 Guard members.
I mean, it sounds to me like Trump is scared. He wants to make National Guard in blue states normalized, and anything that happens, you could drop a nail, drop a pin. What do they call those little things? I forget. But you could drop a nail, let's say, or a pin. Yeah, you could drop a pin on the street, just by accident, a pin you write with, and they're going to send 500 more troops to D.C. too, because the point is not this crime, right? You're not going to stop this crime because this guy knew that unless he was insane, he knew that he would be captured and he knew that he would likely be killed. So obviously you're not going to stop a person that is fucking enraged or depressed or having bouts with some sort of mental illness at the moment. You're not going to stop the guy from going to the post office who got fired and shooting up everybody. You're going to jail or you're going to be killed likely. I mean, that's what happens when you do these kind of things. So they obviously are not caring about their own life at that point, right? Regardless of your nationality or your resident status, right? It seems like they just want more National Guard in DC, and any reason is good enough. I mean, that's my perspective.
Already assigned to DC. The FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force is leading the investigation into today's shooting, working to determine if it was an act of terrorism.
Right. So Hegseth is sending 5 more, and they don't even fucking know. The police ain't even said it's an act of terrorism. They don't even know why they're sending them. That's what I'm saying. It's pretty obvious here. There's a rush to fill DC with military, basically.
The Secret Service is also looking into whether the shooter intended to target the White House itself or anyone under the Secret Service's protection. But
the taxpayers. Exactly. The taxpayers are going to pay for this. You're paying for the mobilization. This is coming out of your own state budgets, by the way. National Guard. You see what I mean? So you will get this federal dollars from, states that are already West Virginia, for example. They're not a giver state. They're a taker state. They generate less federal dollars than they use. They're sending their National Guard to D.C. to help D.C. residents. Why aren't they in West Virginia helping West Virginia residents? And who's going to pay for this deployment, the National Guard? Who pays for that ultimately? Is it taken out of the money that your state gets in federal dollars when you're already a taker state and can't afford a whole lot of other shit? I mean, really, this is just what they're doing. They're willy-nilly doing shit out there,
as of now, there is still a lot we don't know. The investigation is really just beginning. And again, we'll bring you anything we learn during the next hour to update you. But joining me now to discuss all of this.
Okay. Yeah. So it appears they don't know what the hell is going on. And they just, we know that the National Guard is going to, and the Marines are going to be the recipe for anything in blue states. That's what, if somebody sells a crack rock, you got to send 1,000 National Guard from a red state to that state to solve that crime, because the police don't know how to solve crimes anymore in any blue state. You know what I mean? That's just it. And even though this seems like a pretty easy, clear cut case, to Hegseth, he doesn't know. He's just like, send 5 more. What the fuck? Is it an attack on DC? Oh my God. I mean, he's just like, send more agents, send them all there. like that's going to do something to resolve the issue. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. All right, let's see here.
And Delanian and former assistant special agent in charge at the FBI, Michael Feinberg. Ken, let me just start with you. You've been covering this all very, very closely. Tell me, is there anything that I missed there about where the investigation stands right now, or any updates that you've had from your sources?
There's one new piece of information, Jen, and the New York Times is reporting, and MS Now has confirmed, Mark Santia and I, that this 29-year-old Afghan entered the country in 2021 through a Biden administration program called...
I mean, you see, so this was the fall of Afghanistan. This is why the guy is in the country, because the Afghanistan government fell, and he's likely one of the people that was associated with the government. I mean, of course, can you in an emergency, in a crisis like the fall of a capital? So let's do this. Let's say DC falls, for example. Washington, DC falls to the Russians. Let's say that. Military takeover, right? Covert group of citizens working with the Russian government, bring weapons to DC and, kick in the doors of all the federal institutions. I mean, they did it with the Capitol. The people kicked in the door of the Capitol. That was Jan 6. Why couldn't they do that in the White House, for example? Why couldn't they do that in the FBI? But what's stopping them? If nothing was stopping them from doing that in the Capitol, what's stopping them, right, from doing that? So let's say DC is taken over by the Russians, right? Okay, and DC people have to flee. People from DC have to flee. Let's say the country is taken over by the Russians. Let's say Russian military ends up in the United States, right? Takes over Alaska, takes over other places. What are you going to do in an emergency when you're fleeing? Let's say you're fleeing DC because DC is under a terrorist attack. What are you going to do? How are you going to prove that everybody is legit in a crisis where people are being killed and everybody's flooding out of there? Is that what you can do at the moment? Or are you going to do the best you can with what you got to work with? What are you going to do? You see, and how would you want to be treated in that situation? You know, I mean, it's just something for people to think about in real time. Like, they're literally acting like they don't want to say why the guy was in the country, because then it points to what really might have happened. And it might have been he's frustrated at the Trump administration for now kicking out Afghanis who basically are going to be killed if they're sent back to Afghanistan.
Operation Allies Welcome, which accepted around
29. Operation Allies Welcome.
And the New York Times is reporting, and MS Now has confirmed, Mark Santia and I, that this 29-year-old Afghan entered the country in 2021 through a Biden administration program called Operation Allies Welcome, which accepted around 90,000 Afghans. And people may remember it was a kind of a furious operation at the end of at the conclusion of America's involvement in Afghanistan, where we were trying to give sort of rescue some of the people that had helped the United States cause, or Afghans who were in danger. And there was a lot of vetting that took place very quickly. And this person was admitted into the country at that time. Now, there are also reports, we have not confirmed these reports, that he then later applied for asylum last year and was granted asylum by the Trump administration this year. Again, MS Now has not confirmed those reports, but in fairness, I want to offer the full context for our viewers. And so that, of course, is one piece of the puzzle here as investigators try to seek out what the motive is. And we don't know what the motive is, but obviously thoughts are, of course, turning to, was this some form of Islamic extremist terrorism? That's not without precedent in these kinds of situations. That's exactly what investigators are looking into right now. As soon as the FBI concluded that this was a targeted attack on uniformed members of the armed services, they took over the investigation from D.C. police, worked to identify the suspect, and now no doubt are going through his digital footprint, his social media accounts, trying to interview relatives, trying to piece together everything they can learn about this man's life while he was in the United States, his movements before the attack.
Now, keep in mind, check this out. We already know what happened with the murder of Charlie Kirk, right? The assassination of Charlie Kirk. And all the rumors that went around, right? Is this going to be another trans guy? Is this going to be the trans operation, the woke trans people operation? Is that what they're going to turn this into in the media? It's the woke people. It's the woke people that did it. See, we told you, it's Kamala Harris. It's Kamala Harris, and it's Joe Biden, and it's Obama. The woke people did it. You know what I'm saying? The Zion, you know, it's somebody said the Zionist guy. Yo, the issue is this. Anything but the fact that he was raised as a Republican, anything but the fact that his family are diehard Trump supporters, anything but the fact that they raised him putting an automatic assault weapon in his hand from the time he was a child, anything else but that. Anything else but that. It has to be anything else. Next is going to be the aliens did it. You see what I mean? Like, for real, that's where this is going. Anything but the obvious. Anything but the fucking obvious that's just right there that you can't escape. Anything else but what you can't escape is going to be the reason behind it. It's not going to be that he's kicking out Afghans right now who were led in the country under an alliance, you know, Operation Allies, or you will be killed if you're not, because you stood side by side with the U.S. military fighting against the Taliban. Anything but that. Anything but that. Anything. It's the Zionist. Anything but that.
Attack, where he got the weapon, all those questions at the moment.
What we know is that he comes here from Afghanistan. Now, this is a guy who's been living in Washington State, not Washington, D.C., on the other end of the country. He comes here from Afghanistan in the summer of 2021. Remember what that was like. Refugees fleeing Afghanistan, people had to be recommended by U.S. people on one end, vetted on this end by government background checks as far as they could do in Afghanistan, have sponsors and so on.
Keep in mind, American citizens, there's Afghanis living all over the West right now. Every Western country has people from Afghanistan. I'm going to tell you, I know a few of them myself personally. And They've never said one goddamn. All I've ever found out is that they're pro-democracy, that they're actually pro. They just want to look. They're not all Afghanis are not the Afghanis that fled. And a big portion of Afghanis are moderates, just regular people. They don't want to have to be forced to do anything. They want their children, women and boys going to school. They want their women to be able to have a job to support themselves also in the society. They're very moderate. The people that lost are the moderates in Afghanistan. So these people live across the country. I mean, I know a couple of Afghanis, and all I can say is that, yo, they're very, very cool people, nice people, intelligent, educated people, like nothing to do with it. Just like there's many from different parts of the country. You can't be so stupid to think that all of one people, just like in the U.S. Look, you see how these MAGA people think that liberals are the worst thing on the earth. These are their own countrymen they talk about. So at least be able to imagine that all Afghanis are not the same, or all from any country are exactly the same. You see what I mean? I mean, there's differences among populations. Even though you share one nationality, doesn't mean you're from the same ethnic group. It doesn't mean you support the same policy, right? It doesn't even mean you have the same history. Some Americans' fucking family members were fighting for the fucking Confederates, not mine. Mine was fighting with the Union. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. We are different on that lineage in the United States of America. You see what I mean? We're different for what we fought for, you know, and what we wanted to exist. You see what I mean? But the way Trump talks about Afghanistan people, the way he talks about Somalis, the way he talks about anybody, you would just think they're all the same. They're all the same. You know,
he settled in Washington. He applies for asylum in December of 2024. Now he goes through another vetting process involving that, and he's approved for asylum in April of this year under the Trump administration. He comes in under the Biden administration. These checks are being done. I remember as a part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force in New York, where we supplied people for that vetting process, it was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of people. They were being kept in military installations. A lot of that vetting had to be done very quickly. I also remember we had to go back afterwards when we found information on certain people and bring them back. In this case, that's all we know about this individual, but it appears that he must have done work either for or with the United States in Afghanistan to become part of the Allies Welcome Program and be brought here. That still doesn't get us closer to motive.
No, although
I mean, you know, you could easily find out. There's a lot they're going to find out through his social security number, right? They're going to find out where he worked, if he worked. I'm curious, but that's going to come out in the next couple of days, you know, because obviously, you know, life is not. I don't know what kind of welfare program they got in Washington State, but I know pretty much generally welfare is not a cakewalk in any Western country. It's not what you want to be, you know. So I'm imagining, like a lot of other immigrants in the United States, that they want to have a job. You see what I mean? Maybe even own a company. So you never know. I mean, just think about this right now. I mean, that's another dimension. What if you're an Afghan? What if you're this guy? You did flee Afghanistan, humanitarian purposes. You fought with the government, you fought with the United States government against the Taliban. The Taliban are your enemies. And you lost that battle when the U.S. government pulled out. Now you are left with leave or be killed, right? You flee to the U.S. You want to support yourself. Let's say you start a business. You start working. You have a job, right? You own a business. You employ maybe one or two other people. Maybe you employ a couple of other people, Afghani people that need a job. And then Trump says, well, now you got to go back. That means you came and you did hard work, and he's ripping the carpet up from under your feet. That's what that means. What if you find out that this guy had no government assistance really, or very little when he migrated into the U.S.? What if you find that out? What if you find out that he pulled himself up by his own bootstraps? What if you find that out? And then you find out that, oh, well, Trump just willy-nilly from one day to the next just said, oh, fuck it, you get out of here. You're all bad. Even you people that fought with the U.S. military against the terrorists, you're all bad. What if you come to find out that this is the situation? Would you want to be treated that way? If that was you, would you want to be treated that way? I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm not here for a typical conversation either, because I feel like legacy media, you can't really lead it totally up to them. Although you can see they're getting closer to maybe what the issue is. At least in this interview, they described what the program was and the purpose and something about how they acted, took action in this program, right? The fact that they interviewed people, they did it on the military base. You pretty much had to be working with the U.S. government, right, or the Afghan government at that time to be brought into the United States anyway, But yeah, there's a lot of questions to be asked. But Trump, he's already like, get them all out. You don't even want to wait for the rest of this. Now, I just want to go over a few other blind items here. Just check this out here, and then I got to be out. Let's see here. Look at this. Now, this is about Marjorie Greene Taylor. I'm sure they're going to find out more information about the Afghan guy. And, yeah, my hearts go out to the service members who lost their lives also. And it's sad that they were even in D.C., if you ask me. There was a better use for them that this president does not recognize. And they should have been back in West Virginia, where they come from, and helping poor Appalachian people in West Virginia, if you ask me. But the president don't want that to happen. So, he only wants that to happen in D.C., the place they got more police on earth than any other place, known to mankind. It's like
Earlier today, breaking the news of the D.C. shooting to soldiers at Fort Campbell. He was there to serve an early Thanksgiving meal to service members on the Army base, which happens to sit in a bright red congressional district in Tennessee, where a special congressional election is being held next Tuesday to replace Republican Congressman Mark Green, who retired in July. That district, the Tennessee 7th, voted for Trump just last year by 22 points. So this should be a breeze. And yet, check this out. New Emerson College survey shows Republican candidate Matt Van Epps leading Democrat Afton Bain by only 2% among likely voters. That is within the margin of error in a Trump plus 22 district. This comes a month after Republican losses at ballot boxes across the country. I'm joined now by two former Republican congressmen, Charlie Dent of Pennsylvania and Carlos Curbelo of Florida. Gentlemen, it's good to have you. In these specials, A, they're hard to poll. B, we don't have a ton of public polling, so you don't have like 15 polls you can throw into the average. But you got J.D. Vance down there. You got Trump posting about on Truth Social, Charlie. And I think from the people I've talked to who are in the district, like there's generally a sense that this is a competitive race, which that alone seems to me to say something. What do you think?
Well, this race should be a layup for Republicans, as you indicated. But Republicans, since Trump was elected, Republicans have really struggled in special elections. Democrats have overperformed significantly. We saw two special elections for Congress in Florida, where the Republican candidates who held those seats were winning by 30 plus points. And then the Republicans who replaced them won by 12 to 15 points. We saw a special election in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, for the state Senate. Very Republican area near my hometown. Never elected a Democrat since the Civil War. Elected a Democrat, and so I think what we've seen, though, and you add that up with you couple that with what happened a few weeks ago in the off-year election. Republicans have a turnout problem. Trump is turning out Democrats big time. And you said it's hard to poll these districts, these special elections. They are hard to poll. We simply don't know what the turnout will be. But I would be nervous if I were a Republican, just because, the turnout has been terrific for Democrats and pretty lousy for Republicans. So that's where we are right now. Republicans should win this district, Van Epps, but it's going to be awfully close.
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectation is that they will. It'd be sort of shocking if they didn't. Part of what's interesting, Carlos, here is that Mark Green, this got kind of lost, but it was a little bit of a weird move, right? July of the first year in a term, you've been in Congress for a bit, to say, hey, I'm out. He just said, I'm leaving. I've got a private sector opportunity. It's too good to pass.
Yeah, are you digging me? Yeah, exactly. The billionaires are the 1%.
Up. He went to some startup. You got him. He leaves.
That's who Trump represents, by the way, if you're confused about that. J.D. Vance and Trump represent the 1%. Fox News represents the 1%. CNN, in a left kind of way, represents the 1%. I mean, you got to be cautious because right about now, there's an opportunity for the U.S. to work for the taxpayers. Now that people have been able to see the levels of corruption, people are getting frustrated enough. And you can see that in the polling. First of all, I like the comments in the comment section. I got it in subscriber mode today. So it's just 1 minute. You have to wait once you subscribe to get in the chat. But I like some of the messages I'm seeing. One of the messages are the taxpayer, something about they should be working for us, right? Isn't that what it says? Let me see here. That these are civil servants and they're supposed to be working for the people, right? And I agree 100%. And I think more Americans need to get with that. It's your tax dollars. These people, it doesn't matter what party they're for or what job they have when they're getting American taxpayer dollars, when we're paying their salaries. Their job is only one job: to improve all of our lives. All. The people that pay them, they work for us. And you could see the 1% will do anything they can. They will sneak in on the right, Fox News, and pump this shit message. They try to hedge the bets. They don't try to control it outright. They just try to push it to the left or push it to the right whenever they need it to land right where they want it to land at for the 1%. So be aware of that. So right now, you've had loads of corruption. People are frustrated. It's possible now for people on the left and the right to say, hey, our tax dollars are supposed to work for us. But you can't do that without data, right? And this is where the news media comes in. So this is where YouTubers and podcasters come in, like myself. The legacy media doesn't really give a lot of the details so American citizens can make proper choices. That's sad. So you need to do, as an American citizen, you need to do a lot more research just on what the government is doing and says, so you're aware of it. So you're aware, and also compare the data to what is going on in other countries, right? And that data is available. You don't need to go to the dark web or some conspiracy theories website to find out this information. It's all government, all public. You can get any information. You want to know what the Canadian government is doing and spending their taxes on, you can go directly to their websites and find out. It's published. You want to know what the Danish government is doing, you can go directly to the Danish government's website, state government, and find out. That's globally pretty much. Now, especially in the West. Now, if you do your data work, 50% of U.S. taxpayer dollars, that is the 50%. I'm not talking about how much you pay in taxes, just half of it, half of what you pay in taxes. At best, 50% goes back to affect your life directly. That means roads, clean water, education, housing, health care, Only 50% of the taxes you pay go to those things, to help those things. A road, transportation in the state where you live. Only 50%. The other shit goes to areas that don't have any direct impact on your life. That you need to understand. As soon as you leave the United States of America, 60% of the taxes collected by the nation, the government and the state, 60% go directly to your life. As soon as you leave the United States of America, you go to Canada, 60%. You go throughout Europe, it rises up to the place where I am. I'm in Denmark. It's 70 to 75% of our taxes we pay here go directly to affect our lives directly. The family, the taxpayer, the child, the mother, the father, the sister, the brother, the baby, the neighbor, the street, the transport, the air, the clean air, the water, the housing. You see what I mean? It goes to make sure that everyone who's paying the taxes can have a dignified time fucking paying the taxes. United States Americans need to peep game on that. Like straight up. Now, so less of your tax dollars actually go to benefiting your life directly in the United States of America over all other Western nations. Therein lies the goddamn problem, if you ask me. Now, the second thing is this idea of thinking that these people don't work for you. No, they work for you. You are the one that pays them. You pay the motherfucking United States military yourself. That is a socialized project from a capitalist nation. By the way, all of Europe is built that way. Capitalist nations with socialized projects. Most of them all have socialized military. That means the taxpayers pay for it all, right? Yeah, every penny of their salary, the taxpayer pays for it. We have the number one military on our earth. Why can't our taxes do that to the healthcare system and make it the number one on the earth? Why can't we use our tax dollars to make our education system number one on earth? We're number motherfucking 40. We're number fucking 40 with education. How's that fucking possible? And a lot of it's privatized. A lot of that failure is privatized. A lot of the failure to cover people in the United States of America comes from the private side of the industry. Now, it's not even socialized in Denmark. Look, parts of it is private, but the part that guarantees everybody access to whatever it is public. Same thing with other parts of the industry. You could say utilities. Let's say electricity, or let's say water, something like that. Part of the job is done by the government. Another part is managed by private corporations. But that's how you keep the cost affordable for everybody. You see what I mean? It's mixed. It's not capitalist. It's not socialist. It's mixed. And in the U.S., it's supposed to be mixed too. You see what I mean? Because you've already have said, hey, we got the best military on earth, and it's going to be a socialist operation, a socialist program. That's what it is. The taxpayers pay for it 100%. There's any of that private shit. I mean, you start hearing about that private shit, but even your tax dollars is paying for the private shit. So that is mixed too. But why can't you use the same model? How come the same model is not effective when it comes to providing health care? How come it's not effective when it comes to providing education? How come it's not effective when it comes to providing clean water? How come it's not effective when it comes to providing, fair housing? How come it's not effective there? Why is it more effective in other Western nations than it is in the U.S. and you have more money at the table? Why is that? You have to start asking that. And that is because the elected officials are yielding to the 1%. They're doing their job for the 1%. They're not doing their job for the taxpayer. When really that every taxpayer is the one that they're supposed to be working for. They're supposed to make sure everybody who's paying taxes has a fair fucking shot. And they have failed in the U.S. at doing that. It's similar to how come this guy could show up in D.C. one day with a handgun. It's the same kind of failure, really. It's poor governance is why it is, You
got Marjorie Taylor Greene last week saying, I'm out. I'm not going to run for re-election, but I'm leaving.
Here's a perfect example. Why is she stepping down? Death threats. Death threats. She's from Georgia. We talked about this last night, 5 hours ago, before I went live this time. It's 6-7 hours ago, right? She's from Georgia. She's an elected official. Regardless, the people elected her. What did she get? Death threats. A lot of the death threats were coming after Trump, basically called her a traitor, right? Now, when she steps down because of the death threats, that is what's called taxation without representation. That means the person you elected is not allowed to do the job because the government is not protecting them from death threats. And this is how widespread the death threats are. But even so, let's say that that's not the only issue. Then you have Georgia, where they bring up the trying to overturn the election in the 2020 election, right? Where Trump got on the phone and asked and begged and told them that you're going to find me those votes, goddammit. You're going to find me 11,000 more votes. This scandal, they charged it and then they just dropped it 2 days later. You see what I mean? That is taxation. That deals with taxation without representation. Georgia voters ain't really getting no kind of fucking representation. They're not. Because you can't get representation when your government, when your representatives are controlled through death threats. You see what I mean? You can actually only get representation, real representation, in a peaceful environment. And that hasn't been established by the federal government. You see, you're allowed to make death threats. You don't hear Trump saying, lock them up. You didn't hear Trump say, hey, that's the problem with our country. Anybody issuing any lawmaker a death threat must be thrown under the bus. I'm going to pass a bill to lock them up. I'm going to make it easier for us to find out who these people are that are interfering in our elections, interfering with our government. He's not doing that. He's going for the one Afghan guy. But who the fuck are the people threatening all these other folks? Who are they? You see what I'm saying? Who are the fucking people? What about the person that is going to overturn the election? Is that going to be an Afghan dude? Who's going to do that? You know, it's like things are not looking too well right now. You know, it's not.
Then you've got all this buzz from members of Congress speaking to say, you know, Jake Sherman and Punchbowl, that they're thinking.
Yo, down line. What's up, Dylan? Dylan, my fault. What's up, Dylan?
The same thing. What do you think about, like, how do you make sense of Republicans in the majority just like piecing out, you know, midterm?
Chris, this is remarkably similar to the environment that we were living back in 2017 and 18.
I mean, yeah, somebody said Democrats love to forget the crazy shit MTG co-signed and are trying to welcome. I mean, I'm a Democrat. I'm not forgetting all the crazy things she did. If you listen to my program the last 2 days, you would know that. I mean, I think it's crazy that people, I mean, I think she's a problem mostly to herself, to Republicans, because you need to be able to look in the mirror at where your own failures are. And she is asking for empathy when she herself has not been willing to look in the mirror and actually address the same type of issues that she's now blaming Trump for. You know, she's claiming that, I mean, the same thing she's dealing with right now are what Democrats deal with every day, death threats. You see what I mean? Through toxic language done by government officials, people like Trump, dog whistles. That's what she's suffering from. The same thing that Trump has been doing to Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries and everybody else on the daily is what is affecting her now, right? Because Trump has identified her as a traitor, in his words, right? Now, she never has really fully addressed that. She said a little bit about she's going to pull back from the toxic language. But the fact of the matter is that Marjorie Greene Taylor, just like Charlie Kirk, basically went around the country spreading hate, basically spreading lies, spreading election lies, spreading hate towards people that pay taxes. You know, I mean, seriously, you could say people are woke all they want. Yo, they're paying your motherfucking bills. These people you claim are the problem are paying the bills for the United States fucking government to function. You see what I mean? So you have to have limits on how far you go, you know, in labeling your own countrymen. But that's not what MAGA did. They basically labeled liberal people as the problem with the United States when the liberal people are paying the bills for the United States. They're the giver states. They're the ones that's generating more federal tax dollars, and those excess tax than they use, and the excess tax dollars are going to red states that generate less. Just like the absurdity of West Virginia, their broke ass state, sending their fucking National Guard to D.C., a place that is way more wealthier and has way more police and doesn't need your motherfucking help. I mean, this is the absurdity of the Republican Party. All across the board, you know, but let me not ramble too much. I'm sorry, because I only got 10 more minutes left.
As we approach the first midterm election of
What's up, Massachusetts?
President Trump's first term, there was so much fatigue in the Congress. People left early that year. Our friend who's on this panel with me, Charlie Dent, he retired early from Congress that year. A lot of members decided not to run for re-election because the mood was just so sour. Congress had become less and less relevant, and that has only gotten worse. So I do think you're going to see.
I mean, you know, look, Al Source says Democrats and Republicans are two sides of the same coin. To tell me you're on or the other, yo, that's an idiotic way to look at it, because you might see it as two sides of the same coin. I see it as they're both political parties in the motherfucking United States of America that are the largest political parties that occupy. What the fuck else what are you looking for? They're also that. So it's not It's not a Democrats Republican thing, because all of them don't vote the same. If you follow, you see, and MAGA people address that every day, all the time. They say, oh, well, they broke ranks. I mean, the Republicans just broke ranks over the Epstein thing. You know, it took them a while. MAGA Mike Johnson wasn't the same as the other Republican representative that sponsored the bill to release it. You see, two total sides of the Republican Party. So you can't really say that they're the same. They're not the same. What the issue is in the United States of America is billionaire class tend to buy up a lot of TV space and tend to donate money to any political party. And in the United States of America, money is what's making you king right now. That's the problem. That's the problem. Republicans and Democrats being on this, you know, two sides of the same coin. Oh, but that's just virtue of them being, you having a government. You know, what do you want them to be? You want them to not be in government? You want them to step out of government and pick up the gun and have a war against the government? Is that what you want? You have to be in government. You see what I mean? But inside of the Democratic Party, you don't have one type of Democrat. You got Acosta, who doesn't get big donors. You got Bernie Sanders, who doesn't take big money from big donors, doesn't take money from AIPAC. And then you have AIPAC is one of the donors, but there's billionaire corporations giving them all money. Facebook, all of these people, same ones, Jeff Bezos, on both sides. There's Democrats that don't take their money, and there's Democrats that do. So they're not all on it. Even in the Democrat Party, they're not all the same. And in the Republican Party, it's less. They're more similar than others, but because they have more of a narrow scope, Democratic Party is a wide base, you know, a lot of different types of constituency, right? Things that they focus on, like, you know, but the Republican Party tend to just focus on immigration and abortion, and that's it. You see things like that. So their scope is minimal right now when you're talking about politics, right? They're cutting back on healthcare. They're doing these kind of things. I mean, but there's still some Republicans that don't agree with that. So they're not really the same side, but it's a symptom. If you ask me, it's a symptom of another problem. And that is the billionaire class doesn't get taxed enough in the United States of America. And they get the benefit of everything else before any other citizen does. They get the benefit of the tax dollars. The tax dollars work more for the billionaires in the United States than it does the everyday American, regardless of who you are, regardless of your political affiliation. Even independents are just as loony as Republicans and Democrats, even independents. You know, so it's pretty much, if you ask me, a United States of America thing. And I don't like to say that they're all the same. I don't think that solves the problem. I think you got to be pinpointed to address the issues, you know, because you do want people coming out to vote, because voting is the only way you're going to change this stuff. You see what I mean? So you don't want to tell people, you don't want to give people the illusion that not voting is going to help them. Not voting is only going to destroy you. 80% of Americans didn't vote the last election, and they could have. And if they didn't like what the options were, they should have went out there themselves and ran for office. 80 million people is the same amount as the people that voted for Kamala Harris, and it's the same amount of people that voted for Trump, basically. 80 million people is more of a population than pretty much any other individual EU nation. I think there's only 2 EU nations that got 80, 90 million people. You see what I mean? Like, that's a hell of a lot of people that didn't do the simple thing. That is their civic duty, have a say. And you cannot tell me that Trump being president didn't deliver you a worse outcome to your life, to your mother's life, to your father's life, to your children's lives, to your life. You cannot say that because the data does not support it. So you could have at least overted Trump, but the votes didn't allow it. So
more Republicans.
I would say the people, the motherfucking people are basically, at the end of the day, the people are responsible, because you have the right to vote and you have the right to take a part in it until they stop you. And this government, even wants to stop you now from voting. I mean,
heading for the exit,
crazy,
some
man.
early, which of course is extremely relevant this year, right? They only have a couple seat majority. We had a 40 seat majority back in 2018, so we could afford to lose some seats. We could afford to lose some members. This majority cannot afford to lose anyone, but people are frustrated. The executive branch continues making Congress less and less relevant. And to be fair, Congress continues making itself less and less relevant by refusing to take action. And guess what? People don't want to waste their time there anymore. So that's why they're leaving. It's a shame. It's sad. You know, I decided to stick in there and run for re-election, knowing that it was going to be very difficult. But some people have just had enough.
Charlie, I'm going to read you this quote from an anonymous member of Congress talking to Jake Sherman. He says, other GOP members messaged us over the weekend saying they, too, are considering retiring in the middle of the term. Here's one particularly exercised senior House Republican.
Yo, this is a clear indication that people who voted for Trump are not happy with Trump. Okay, people who voted for Trump, and this is large numbers here, anytime you have a person like Marjorie Greene Taylor who capped for Trump, since 2015, she was capping for Trump, supporting everything that came out of Trump's mouth. And anytime you have a person like that, just step off. Anytime you have Trump threatening, doing the dog whistles against a person like her, that's a sign that something that you are losing support rapidly. Like, just like, blood is just flowing out of the MAGA party right now, when you have this going on.
Okay. This entire White House team has treated all members like garbage, all. More explosive early resignations are coming. It's a tinderbox. Morale has never been lower. Mike Johnson will be stripped of his gavel, and they will lose the majority before this term is out. What do you think of that?
Well, what I think this means is there are a lot of Republican members of Congress who have witnessed their Article I powers being usurped by the executive branch. And in some cases, the Congress has willingly surrendered their authorities to the executive branch. And I think enough of them have had enough. And that's why they're going to head for the X's. If any member is in a district that is what I would say less than an R+10, I would be very nervous right now. I'm just,
I see Alzeus. He's on that. It's easy to see from my point of view, the coin of division. I mean, I think in a simplistic way, yeah. I think when you do it that way, though, you also overlook a lot of details that can help resolve the problem. Yeah, that's what I think. Because you got to take it a step further than that. Let's not just talk about Republicans or Democrats. Let's talk about the 80 million people that didn't have a say, that didn't want to have a say. That is not a Democrat or Republican problem. That's independence. That's other people. That's an American citizen problem. People failing to participate in the democracy and complaining about it. You see what I'm saying? Like, so that's enough people to start a whole nother party. 80 million people could be the biggest party, could be the party that's bigger than the Democrat or bigger than the Republican Party. So in my mind, there's other equations there. There's other factors there. And, I would say what the Republicans and the Democrats have in common is that they're all Americans. Basically, they have that in common, too. You see what I'm saying? They have that. They don't have to just be two sides of the same coin. Yeah, they're also Americans, too, by the way. And they think like Americans also, by the way, and Americans tend to, think in ways that are very connected to, as you can see, bigotry, right? This thing about chasing around trans people is the same thing about chasing around Jews, chasing around Muslims, chasing around Hispanics, chasing around black people. I mean, and these are the people who voted for Trump. I think that is your biggest problem, lack of education. The majority, the people that voted for Trump largely lack education. Like, not only do they lack a decent minimum wage in their state, but largely lack education. People that voted for Democrats tend to have more education, That means more of an understanding of what the fuck is going on and how not to be fooled. So you don't want to just throw everybody in the same basket and generalize, because that's not what's going on. There's other factors. They're not the same side of the coin. Yeah, by nature of them being all Americans, they are, but you can't help but to be that as an American. Guess who's also part of the problem? If you're an American too, Al Zeus, you're also part of the problem yourself. Who's going to take accountability for your failure or your lack of inactivity, your lack of creating a political party, your lack of not being successful? Who's going to account for that? You see what I'm saying? So it's easy to try to generalize everybody, but ultimately the generalizations will come back to you too. And then what will you say? What will you do?
Just telling you that these elections are going into, they know they're going to be running into a buzzsaw, and it's quite likely they will be in the minority in the next Congress. So I think some are really reconsidering whether or not they should go forward with an election plan. And I think you will see a rush to the exits. I can't tell you how many today, but I can see that the frustration level is very high. And why run if you just want to be in the minority and have your powers further diminished?
You know, part of it, Carlos, as a member of Congress.
Yeah, so you hear a lot of Republicans are stepping down, you know, saying they're not even going to run now because of Trump. And I think that's great, because I think you fucked up your credibility. If you supported Trump all the way up until just a month ago, yeah, something's fucking wrong with you. Something's fucking wrong with you. You know, you are responsible for pretty much destroying the U.S. standing, you know, the U.S. economy, safety in the country, and you're also the standing of the U.S. globally. You're responsible because you supported Trump, and people warned you and you didn't listen. You know, and the things that the people warned you about came true and are happening right now. And you're not going to be considered legitimate until you take some time off and look in the fucking mirror, like big time. Look in the mirror, because you did way worse to your country than any fucking foreign government or any other people ever fucking could. You see, that has to be dealt with before anything good comes out of this, you know. So I'm happy to see these people step down, but they need to stand their ass up in another way, and that is have a real conversation about what their fucking problems really are, and stop trying to scapegoat other people that pay the fucking bills for the United States of America. Stop trying to blame the people that come from the states that pay the fucking lion's share of the federal government through checking into a job, 9-to-5 job. Stop fucking blaming other goddamn Americans for your poor choices. Blue states did not vote for Trump policies. Red states did, and you have to accept your consequences and accept the outcome for your fucking ignorance, because people in blue states told you this before you did it, and you went out there and did it any fucking way because you're bigots. So solve your problem with your fucking bigotry, because your bigotry is the thing that's fucking killing the United States of America and killing your ass first. Like straight up. It's not Democrats that cut your motherfucking health care. It's not Democrats that said they don't want to cut your goddamn SNAP. It's the person you voted for that did that to you.
Breaking today, a Virginia teacher and...
Now, this is the last story, y'all. Something interesting happened here. It's breaking news, and we're going to find out. And then I'll be back with y'all later on today. Let's see.
His brother are accused of a chilling plot to attack ICE, potentially with explosive rounds. The man on the right is John Bennett. He served as an assistant principal at a high school.
John Bennett in it to win it.
In Virginia Beach. DHS says the case is indicative of the more than 1,100% increase in assaults against ICE agents. Joining us now is ICE Director Todd Lyons. Thank you.
This is Fox News, by the way. So
very much, sir, for joining us. Rather disturbing details that we are learning about that.
Yeah, Sandra, thanks for having me. It's really scary, because unfortunately that's the day-to-day lives now of every men and women in ICE, whether it's a special agent, deportation.
Now you see these dumbass ICE people. It's the day in the life. That's the day in the life. And what about the day in the life of all the congressional members being under death threats? What about that? That didn't bother you? No bill for that? No bill, huh? No action? No task force? Nothing? I find that very, very strange, because why would it matter that an ICE agent gets death threats if it doesn't matter if a congressional member gets death threats? I mean, why would that matter? I don't know. Seems to me like it's some sort of bullshit. Again, Republicans are the majority right now. They could do whatever the hell they want. Trump could pass an executive order like he always does for everything, even though it might not count for shit, But he can do whatever he wants. Maybe he's behind the death threats. Maybe the same movement that brought rise to Jan 6 are behind a lot of the death threats that congressional members get, like Hakeem Jeffries or anything else. And maybe that's why he doesn't want a task force. Maybe he doesn't want that. But now we're supposed to say boo-hoo for ICE members when you live in a country where death threats are also okay for elected officials like Marjorie Greene Taylor, Hakeem Jeffries? Is that what we're supposed to do? Nobody came out there and passed the bill for Hakeem Jeffries or Marjorie Greene Taylor getting death threats, or anybody else, right? They're okay with making death threats towards people that are your elected officials. They're okay with that. Okay, let's see what they're going to do about this then.
Officer or our trial attorneys. We're constantly under a barrage of attacks. And unfortunately, a lot of these attacks are being driven by some crazy rhetoric that are coming out of a lot of elected officials. And it's really sad, because now you have
the majority in the House and in the Senate can do something instantly if they wanted to. They can just vote. Just vote. They did it for the Epstein files. How many votes did it take to get the Epstein files thing signed? It took what? Every Democrat and four Republicans, because the other Republicans ain't want to vote for it in the Congress. That's not making everything left and right. That's them make their choices being left and right. They actually voted against releasing that fucking Epstein files in Congress. The leader was against it, even though the victims were right in front of the front of the Capitol every day saying, "Give us free, give us justice," and they were like, "No, just fuck you. It doesn't matter. I'm still gonna vote against the bill. Doesn't matter."
Plots like this.
It's a Democrat bill, so I'm gonna vote against it because Democrats aren't Americans and they can do no good. I have to be against them because this is my job as a congressional member in Congress. That's what the taxpayer pay me for, to be against Democrat bills, not to read the bills. Not to vote for a good bill, but just to be against any Democrat bill.
You have ramming incidents up more than 800%. The doxing is just getting unreal, and it's really scary times right now. Just for
the doxing's getting unreal. Trump just called her Marjorie Greene Taylor a traitor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this is
for us being out there doing our law enforcement mission every day.
As far as the numbers are concerned, the death threats against ICE officers, the numbers that we're looking at here are staggering. 8,000% increase. So how do you combat this? And how are ICE officers able to carry out their jobs? Or are you going to get to a point where there's such a dip in morale you start to lose some?
I think the biggest thing for us, Sandra, is the fact that the men and women of ICE are excited to actually out there and do their law enforcement mission again. But yeah, that's definitely on their mind every day they go out there. And one of the best things we have going for us right now is we have a secretary that's out front, leading the way. She understands exactly what the men and women are going through. She's fighting for us every day at her.
I mean, these motherfuckers are actually arresting American citizens. I don't even want to show you the worst. I believe one American, there's this situation with ICE now where if they confront you and you say you're American, they smash your window and drag you out of the car and throw you in chains and send you to the deportation camp. That's actually a thing. So, in a country where you have 350 million people and a lot of them don't like that, in a place where you're sending people around to other parts of the country where they don't come from to just harass people, racially profile people and things like this, probably going to get a lot of death threats. But let's see something. How much have death threats towards elected officials increased in this Trump administration? since 2025. Let me just see what the data is. Since they just showed us some data about the death threats on ICE, I just want to see what it is before I'm out of here real quick. Yeah, so they have some data here. Let me bring this back to the data point. Here it is. 8,000% increase, right? That's what they say. So let me go over to here and see what it is. Okay, there's probably no data. I wonder how they get the data on ICE and they can't get the data on elected officials, how many death threats. That's amazing. But listen, in 2024, the Capitol Police opened 9,474 investigations into concerning statements or direct threats against members of Congress. So that's always been the case for the congressional members of Congress. 9,474 death threats towards members of Congress. That's up from 8,000 in 2023 and 7,501 in 2002, right? Just to put it in context, from 2017, it was only 300. It was only 3,090. So that was only 4,000. So it's been on the increase. It's been on the increase. Any bill? According to the data maintained by Bridge Divides Initiative, BDI, threats, harassment incidents against local officials. Now, this is local officials. This is not even Congress. Okay, increased from 375 in 2022 to nearly 690 in 2023, an 83% increase. Okay, from January 2022 through 2025, there were nearly 2,000 recorded threats or harassment incidents against local officials in the USA. So that's not Congress or the Senate or nothing federal. This is just local, state. A survey by Brennan Center for Justice found that 38% of the state legislators reported to be being threatened, harassed, or abused in the past 3 years. Nearly 40% of local officials said the same. Judges, courts, and other public servants. Serious threats against federal judges, those triggering investigations, roughly doubled down 2021 to 2023 from 224 to 407. Right, so it doubled. Threats to prosecutors and other court staff also more than doubled over that period. Broader reporting indicates that violent threats against public servants, which include elected officials, election workers, local administrators, etc., increased sharply over the last decade, with 291 recorded incidents in 2025 across many offices compared with, to 2015. Okay, what's uncertain? No clean death threat, only annual series. Okay, let me see. What's uncertain and why you can't draw a clean since 2020. Oh, why you can't draw a comparison. Okay. Threats, harassment, intimidation, and concerning statements, they don't always distinguish death threats. Aha, so there could be more. Like the thing about we know where you live. Is that a death threat? Delivering pizza to someone's house. Is that a death threat? Is that in the data? Do ICE officials get that? Do they get people sending pizzas to their houses? I don't know. Okay, I'm just saying this issue has always been there. This issue is there with the elected officials. Now, where is it more concerning? Is it more concerning when it's happening regularly to elected officials or judges or these kind of things, people that have an impact on every single citizen's life? See, if you're giving somebody death threats, they're liable to vote a different way. You give a judge a death threat, they're liable to, to favor one individual in a court over the other. You see, those are the implications. When you threaten ICE, you're not really threatening legislation. You're not threatening the outcome of a court hearing. You're just threatening an ICE individual, right? Who's going around looking. Some, not all, but some who are racially profiling and arresting American citizens. American citizens get angry about being harassed. Threats and harassment have surged 83% over the year. So now they say that this is 8,000% increase. So this is Fox News. I mean, can you really even? Let me see something here. I'm sorry. Is the reporting from Fox News. This is crazy. Saying threats to ICE agents has risen 8,000%. I mean, Fox always has to do this. You know, let me just make sure. This is just crazy. Okay, it says Fox News and other citing Department of Homeland Security says that the threats to ICE immigration have risen. Okay, so this is Homeland Security saying it. But, and this is important, the 8,000 increased claims should be treated with caution. Exactly, because 8,000? Do you know how many? What the fuck? 8,000%? Just tell us a number to back up what they're saying. Tell us a number. How many is 8,000%? Is it 5,000? Is it 10,000? Is it 100,000 threats? What is the number? You know what I'm saying? And they just say 8,000%. Fox News reports that DHS officials' death threats against ICE officers rose 8,000%, a phrase used to describe unprecedented surge. The same reporting cites examples, doxing, bounties, posting online ICE officers' murder threats to family, not just insults or protests. Okay, what's unclear to question, I found no publicly available data that independently verifies what 8,000 increase corresponds to. Exactly. Where's the data? Where are the qualifying numbers? Where are the quantifying numbers? You know, this is a generalization. Again, there's nothing comprehensive about the Trump regime. You don't know how many illegal immigrants they're actually sending out of the country because they don't name them. They don't number them. You don't know how many people are getting threatened with them. Now, you could find out about the threats of the congressional members in real terms and in numbers and in the Senate, either of the houses. You can find out about judges, but you can't find out about 8,000% from ICE because their numbers don't give you any qualifying information. Percent increase claims 8,000 are often misleading if the baseline was very low. Jumping from 1 to 81 threats is technically 8,000. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So what the fuck? If you don't give any qualifying information, this is just it. But anyone in their right mind who looks at data every day knows that as soon as you see 8,000, this is a laughable thing to even say. It's increased 8,000%. Like 1,000% wouldn't be enough. Like 2,000% wouldn't be enough to set off alarms. But they're like 8,000. But we don't want no bill. We don't want no bill against threatening anybody. You know what I'm saying? It's just that bad. Leave us alone. Leave us alone. ICE are becoming victims in the United States of America. ICE are the oppressed people. Next thing you know, we're going to hear stories about illegal immigrants fucking, tying up ICE people and deporting them. Deporting the ICE people. I mean, when you have this kind of reporting going on, anything can fucking be happening. But in any case, I'm back. I'll be back, y'all. I appreciate everybody for coming out. Click the like button. Click the subscribe button. Yo, I'm off, so I'm going to be back soon. And I want everybody to have a good start to their day. I know some of y'all on the late stroll, some of y'all on the early stroll. But in either case, thanks to the people in the U.S., thanks to the people in the EU and around the world, Africa, Asia, South America, North America, Middle East, Asia, anywhere, anybody listening, I appreciate the support. Click the subscribe button, and I'm going to catch up with you all in the next about 5 hours from now. It's been good, and as always, and Bits, big up also to you. Thanks for the membership gifts also. Should my next stream be private? Maybe I could do something a little different just for members. Let me know about that in the comments section when the video is over. But I appreciate y'all. Everybody be good, okay? I'll be back soon. Are we ready? What's going on? There we go. Everybody be good, okay? Have a good day.
Can you feel it? Nothing can save ya, cause this is the season of funky behavior. I came to relax your mind, you can recline on what? On this here rhyme. I like the style, I'm staying for a while. It helps me show cats that I'm versatile. I'll touch your dial, turn your frown to a smile. I'll make you feel like you're having a child. So relax and open up, child. I'm about to make you walk what? Pimp style or pimped out style. You don't understand the logic. See, if you don't have it all, I'll take a deposit. I got shit for you, it's alright indeed. It's like going to the garden and planting the seed. It might tickle for a second, but it won't bleed. So just relax, just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Your entertainment at the same time, edutainment. In other words, you could call it bent. What I'm saying is that I'm here at your service. It's hard work, but then again, I deserve this. I'm helping people enjoy their spare time. I'm like an instructor when I'm doing my rhyme. Relax and just hear the dope track. It's really not all that, it's not like a gat. We like that when everything is relaxed and chill. You don't have to get fucked up or take pills, cause I like being myself, it feels good. Yo, it makes my meals taste good. 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 So just relax. It's your dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. My mind state, now balloon, it won't inflate. Just take the buzz, this much wiser kid, fuck the shade. And take it to a lower level, and dig a ditch for a devil. Got some more kids and pass the shovel. Dig a hole, take them on a spiritual roll. Lyrics unfold, either that or unroll the scroll. Episodes keep reoccurring and stifling. People's vision get blurring, their hearts start murmuring. I'm about 5 times iller than a Sherman. The introspection is God's gift to the miracle. I freak material, lamb's milk without the cereal. When MCs say your booty, they mean venereal. Your fake material hip-hop killers, they more faking than fucking Michael Jackson and Thriller. The status of a hoe, Quanto Costa. They wanna know how much it costs, kid, I bet for Kiko me just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax and just hear a dope track. The vibes is real nice, everything is real fat. You don't have to do work, we do that. It's the type of place where you can wear your hat. Just relax. MC when he bustin', but I just back away real cool, no fussin'. I'd rather go kicking in the streets with the bums and use the knowledge to collect what? Some funds, open a non-profit and build a damn school. And this is the story of how a great king rules. There's many that claim to know the local demographic, but don't have the nerve to tell you the truth. It's tragic, but I do, so sit back and let me spit this shit to you. You feel better when I spit this shit to you. Despite the system trying to clamp down on the people will learn how to stand up to evil. Not evil that's across the globe, that's too far. But evil lies in their own backyard. And fighting, it's not an option, they can't win. The government, it's not supposed to represent sin. But then again they do, and that's a problem. So let's go down and figure out how to solve them. It's not fun being a rapper that can't speak, but we do, yes, unless we make fat beats. Yo, we smoke weed, break up trees. So listen, bringing fat beats, that is our mission. You wanted to see us, homeboy, shut up and listen. Thelonious and Big Bennett, brother, check the vision.
Mentalities of different realities. Enter the Star Trek room when you hear the boom. I be the Walkman with the super bass. Automatic stop, yes, stereo cassette player. With the delayer, freaky lyrical sprayer. Extraterrestrial rhyme sayer. I be the poetical VIC/master of the ceremony. Testimony, won't you come step with me? I'm on a historical journey, kinda like Sigourney. Employ me to represent the attorney that represents my niggas, go figure. Here's the card, they call me Uncle Vigor. Niggas love your blunts, down your liquors. I be the parallel to the fiction. You're fixated on this brother's nature. Relaxed behavior, I might save your change. Flip it, rearrange. The whole concept, yo, is good for all your brain. Insane, psychotic, neurotic, black onyx, and hooked on phonics. Yes, atomic, it bleeds like a bonnet. Cut with the Asiatic, they all up on it. Rhyme static.